Hello. Let me know if my audio is available, is if it's audible properly, if my voice is audible. I'm doing a live stream after such a long time. I do live streams after so much gap that every time I forget all the technological things that I'm supposed to handle. Let me just know if even one person is here. I'll start. Dayas Pitra, आपको भी प्रणाम. तो अभी तक तो सिर्फ लग रहा है आप ही है. तो एक बात बताइए. I have two books that I plan to discuss. Either Reclaiming Hindu Temples by Dr. Chandni Sengupta, or I bought a version of Manusmriti. I'm very interested and curious इसमें क्या होगा. तो whoever says, let's do a Jai JSD. Yes, always. So let's do a vote, okay? Which book should we discuss? I have already read the first chapter of this book. This is a very short book. So the first chapter I've actually done audio of. You can see on my channel. There's a separate playlist called Reclaiming Hindu Temples. So I've read out the entire chapter. And today if we start from the second chapter, maybe we'll at least finish half of the book or almost the entire book. Or we can discuss Manusmriti. I haven't started it, so it will be my first reactions with the book. तो बोलो कौन सा पढ़ते हैं. मनुस्मृति के लिए एक वोट, मनुस्मृति के लिए 2 वोट, जय JSD के लिए 1 वोट. हाँ, रिक्लेमिंग हिंदू टेम्पल्स में तो अभी इतना इन्फॉर्मेशन डिसेमिनेशन हुआ है तो वी ऑल नो अ लॉट ऑफ इट. नो, मनुस्मृति विल बी मोर इंटरेस्टिंग. चलो लेट्स स्टार्ट दिस इनफेमस बुक. आई वंडर व्हाट विल फाइंड. This is so I'll have to obviously explain who are the people who translated this particular version. An English translation of the Vishuddha Manusmriti without interpolated shlokas, because that's important, because all the infamy and curses that are hurled towards the Manusmriti are because of a lot of interpolation and extrapolation as well. Author, originally Hindi bhashyakar, researcher and commentator, Dr. Surendra Kumar. English translation, Pandit Satyaprakash Bigu. This is from a publication called Govindram Hasanand, Delhi, India. Om. मनुस्मृति पढ़ा नहीं है, जाना है इसके बारे में. हाँ. So it was, or this Sanskrit version was compiled by or given this shape by Dr. Surendra Kumar. Oh, it was translated from Sanskrit to Hindi by Dr. Surendra Kumar, and then from Hindi to English by Pandit Satyaprakash Bigu. So there's a big intro because they first wanted to explain what are the misconceptions and the things to know. So we'll have to read all of that. Number of shlokas and the other things to know. Let's see if this is important. Some chapters and their prevalent number have been changed in this edition. Readers, please remember, the chapters in which the prevailing traditional division has not been changed, except for the 1st, 2nd and 10th, have the traditional prevailing shloka number after the shloka. Okay, these are for my benefit. These are no point explaining this to you. From the publisher's desk. Okay. Let's start from the intro. The book looks pretty. Yes, exactly. And look at the physique of Manu. The Manusmriti is one of the oldest books in the vast realm of Vedic literature. It is as well one of the first treatises on political science. It is the jewel in the crown of the Sanatan Vedic Dharma. The Samskrita literature comprises 3 classes of scriptures: the revealed, the arsha, and the anarsha. The revealed class comprises only the Veda. The arsha literature is made up of those scriptures which were composed by the rishis. These rishi-made books are mostly commentaries or a systematic presentation of the different sciences revealed in the Vedas, both spiritual and material. The Anarsha class of books comprises those Samskrita writings which do not follow the precepts of the Vedas, like the Puranas, the Upapuranas, the Tantras, etc. The Manusmriti is an Arsha scripture composed by Maharishi Manu. Maharishi Manu was the first sovereign of the first state on this earth. The Manusmriti is a set of rules because he was known as Raja Manu, he was a Kshatriya. The Manusmriti is a set of rules for the proper administration of a welfare state. And welfare state does not mean freebies like today. Welfare state means like praja ka acha hona. That's welfare state. দাদা জানো হিন্দি ভাষা গঠনের পেছনে অনেক বাঙালি ও এশিয়াটিক সোসাইটির অবদান আছে ইয়া সপ্তর্ষি অধিকারী আই ওয়াজ রিডিং হিস্টোরিক্যাল পেপার টেকনিক্যাল পেপার বাই ডক্টর ভেঙ্কট ধুলিপালা হু রোড দ্য বুক ক্রিয়েটিং আ নিউ মদিনা. This was his 2010 paper. He did his PhD thesis in 2008. In 2010, he did another paper on how the Muslim League was almost on the verge of breakup. That's a very interesting paper. If you can find it, you should read it. I got to read it because my girlfriend studies in a American university and they have it in their online library. So he was citing a lot of Muslim leaders from Congress who were saying that it was Congress's decision to deliberately push Hindi on rest of India to include Urdu speaking people in the national conversation so that they don't feel left out. So Hindi is a very deliberate attempt at Urduizing Indian texts. So today when Modi is talking in Hindi and everyone is saying that Modi is pushing Hindi, no, that started from their own people. The Manusmriti deals with all the important aspects of civil and criminal laws which are necessary for the protection of the rights of the individuals and the society, that is, of the governed and the governing body. Maharishi Manu acclaims the Vedas to be the Pramanam, that is, the Veda is the supreme authority. He outlines the glory and greatness of the Vedas in his Smriti at several places. Pramanam and Paramam. He says, Vedokhilo Dharma Moolam, that is, the Veda is the source of all knowledge of Dharma. He lays great stress on the practice of those codes of living which are defined as Dharma. He states, Eka eva suridha dharmo nidhanamapi anuyati yah sharinema samam nasham sarvam anyadhi gacchati. That is, Dharma is indeed the best friend which accompanies the soul even after the death of the person, while all other belongings and relations perish with the body. He further states that in whatever ashrama or brahmacharya, grihastha or vanaprastha or sannyasa, ashrama here not meaning obviously a campus, ashrama meaning stage of life. So whatever stage of life, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha or sannyasa a person is living, he shall never forsake dharma in his life. Maharshi Swami Dayanand Saraswati also has outlined the importance of dharma in life. Besides the Veda mantras and the shlokas from Manusmriti and from other ancient scriptures, he also quotes the following verses from the Mahabharata in his books, the Samskara Vidhi and the Satyarth Prakash, to highlight the importance of dharma for mankind. Satyarth Prakash is a very important book. I had quoted a few lines from Satyarth Prakash for my video called Hindu-Muslim Unity Delayed Again. Okay, now another quote from Mahabharata. Na jatu kamanna bhayanna lobhat dharmam tyajet jivitasyapi hetho dharma nitya shukha dukhe tvanitye jivo nityo heturasya tvanitya. Mahabharata 253. Meaning, dharma should never be forsaken either through lust, fear or greed, or even when there be chances of saving one's life. Dharma is permanent. Pain and pleasure are fleeting. The Jiva Atman is immortal, while the means of living are changeful. Like Maharishi Manu, all the great rishis have taught about the importance of dharma in all spheres of life. The Manusmriti is a Dharma Shastra. It is the first Dharma Shastra composed by Maharishi Manu based on the teachings of the Vedas. As aforesaid, the Vedas are the revealed scriptures. They are the prime sources of all sciences. They are the scriptures of all true knowledge, Satya Vidya. The Manusmriti is an authority on the Sanatana Vedic Dharma. In nearly all the 28 later Smritis, the authority of Manu is highlighted with reverence, and the Manusmriti is acclaimed a glorious Vedic scripture. Let me check out some comments. To be honest, all Hindu saints look like Gigacharyas because they all of them worked out, all of them did the Mudgal training. If they are imagined pictures, but their shlokas make them look true trad. Yeah. But actually, I'm sure they had great physics. They were not sitting around eating ice cream all day and playing video games. The Samskrita commentator Medha Tithi states, Manurnama Kaschit Purusha Visheshone Kaveda Shakha. Okay, this is a long word. Dhyayana Vijananusthana Sampanna Smriti Parampara Prashidha. That is, Manu was an uncommon man with a profound knowledge of the Vedas and the Shakhas. He is famous for his commandments on Dharma. He is the pioneer of the tradition of the Smriti literature. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, the father of the Indian Renaissance, has rightly observed, whatever law is inconsistent with the code of Manu, which is the substance of the Veda, is really inconsistent with the Veda itself and therefore inadmissible. Maybe he meant it as a criticism. So, wonder, we'll have to get into more Ram Mohan Roy then. The Vedic codes of ethics and laws made by Maharishi Manu have a universal appeal. They are humane, just, and fair, and since their time of origin, they have greatly influenced the Indian society and the daily lives of the people of Greater India and of other lands. Greater India meaning Akhand Bharat. Even today, the influence of the Manusmriti can be seen in the Indian and neighboring countries' jurisprudence. It's sad that we Hindus fumble so much while speaking a single shloka. Of course, yes. It's same case with me. Yeah, once Indic Renaissance happens, we need to reclaim Sanskrit. Yeah, and it has to start with our generation, the one we are getting into these things like a stupid kid trying to read ABCD for the first time. We have to take this step, otherwise there's no point. We can't leave everything to the next generation. This is where we have to start. The time is now. Bro, have you read the Vivekananda Smriti? No, I haven't. I haven't read anything by Vivekananda actually. RKM has published it, but I've heard people like Gayatri Chakraborty and Astha Shakur might have been involved in some way. So, any opinion on that Smriti? No. I'll be learning Sanskrit hopefully soon. Yeah. And I have actually found a plan B of sorts. I've decided to read all the Indian texts in pure Bengali now, because that is the next best thing to Sanskrit, obviously, because it's a regional Indian language. It's still better than reading in English. I've already ordered Rig Veda in 2 volumes in Bengali. Just today I ordered it. It's going to come by 27th. Okay. Pandurang Vamankane had said in his History of Dharma Shastra, points out, the influence of the Manusmriti spread even beyond the confines of India. In Abel Henry Joseph Burgain's Inscriptions Sanskrites de Campa et tu Camboge, 1893, we have an inscription in which occur verses, one of which is identical with Manu, and the other is a summary of Manu. The Burmese are governed in modern times by the Dhammatat, which is based on Manu. Vide Dr. Forshammer's essay on sources and development of Burmese law, 1885 Rangoon, that is where this has been mentioned, that even Burmese law is based on Manu. Dr. E.C.G. Jonker, late in 1885, wrote a dissertation on an old Javanese law book compared with Indian sources of law like the Manusmriti, which is still used as a law book in the island of Bali, because Bali is a Hindu majority province. Maharshi Manu and the Manusmriti. Manu was the son of Virat and Virat was the son of Brahma. In other words, Manu was the grandson of Brahma. The Manusmriti mentions about 14 Manvantaras, that is, specific and important time periods which are specific and important time periods, Manvantaras, which are causes of great and fundamental changes in nature and in characteristics of its flora and fauna. These 14 Manvantaras run in successive order and for a defined length of time since the creation of the universe till its dissolution. The 14 Manvantaras, so they are saying there is run in successive order for a defined length of time. Creation of the universe till its dissolution. The 14 Manvantaras are Swayambhuva, Svarochisha, Uttama, Tamasa, Revata, Chakshu, Vivasvata, Surya Savarni, Daksha Savarni, Brahma Savarni, Dharma Savarni, Rudra Savarni, Deva Savarni, and Indra Savarni. It is to be noted that 6 Manu periods or Manvantaras have already elapsed. The seventh Manvantara is now running on. It is called the Vaivasvata Manvantara. So we are right now in the middle of this Vaivasvata Manvantara. According to history and tradition, the authorship of Manusmriti is ascribed to Swayambhuva Manu, who was born at the dawn of creation shortly after the birth of the first human beings on this earth. He was in the 3rd generation of Brahma Rishi. Thus, the Manusmriti is a very ancient treatise on jurisprudence. It is the complete Dharma Shastra on the Sanatana Vedic Dharma. All the dynasties in Greater India followed the precepts of the Manusmriti. It should also be borne in mind that all lineages, both biological and scholastic, start from Brahma. Brahma was the first scholar of the 4 Vedas which were revealed to Agni Rishi, Vayu Rishi, Aditya Rishi, and Angira Rishi at the dawn of creation. He learnt the Vedas from these 4 Adi Rishis. Brahma is a title which is given to someone who masters the 4 Vedas. Thus, since the very beginning, there were many Brahmas. Let's see if there's any comment. Wait 1 second. Let me check the comments from here. I haven't learned many Sanskrita shlokas. Yeah, me too. One day I'll write my own granth and it will be named Kartikeya Smriti. Yes, it should be called that way. And we need to stop using the word kitab. We need to call it pustak. Better yet is to Sanskritize all Indian languages, like remove. Yes, exactly. And Bengali is filled with those words. Hindi is almost Urdu. Yeah, everyone check out Afin's comments. That is the most important one here. First, need to stop using all English words in our regional languages. Only then can we move removing Farsi and Arabic. Yeah, that is also a case. But that's not so much a case with at least Bengalis of my generation. We still speak Bengali almost 99% with only Bengali words. But half of those so-called Bengali words are Arabic. Like this word, even Ain. In UP for law they say Ain, and in Bengali also we say Ain because it also Aini Akbari, right? So Ain we think means law, but in our languages it's supposed to be Nyay. So Nyay and Anyay is not just what is let's say justified or moral. It's also what is legal and illegal according to our morals, our Indian morals. That is Nyay and Anyay. Do it together. Remove all Mlecha languages. Yes. And make sure we do proper pronunciations of our languages. Exactly. Line. We have 3S. Exactly. Etc. We only pronounce just one of them. Yeah. Think about it. People seem to complain all about the Farsi and Urdu words, but nobody seems to care that people these days don't even write Hindi in Devanagari, rather in Latin script. Okay. I don't know about that. I know about Bengali. Is there a beef between Kushal, Mehra and JSD? There seems to be. Okay. Let's carry on. Commentaries and translations. Some 10 important commentaries on the Manusmriti in Sanskrita have come to light, and there are about 30 commentaries in Hindi. The following commentaries in Sanskrita are available. Medhatithi. Okay. Medhatithi is the commentator whose commentary is called Manubhasya. Kalluka Bhatta's commentary is called Manvartha Muktavali. Govindaraja's commentary is called Manutika. Raghavananda's commentary is called Manvartha Chandrika. Nandana's commentary is called Nandani. There is also an anonymous commentary in Sanskrita which is available on the Kashmiri manuscript. A new commentary in Sanskrita made by Dr. Niranjan Lal Mangla has just been published. This new edition is free from interpolations. This is in Sanskrita. Okay. The sublime and lofty ideas of the Manusmriti equally attracted the foreign scholars of other lands, and they indeed made serious studies of this masterpiece on jurisprudence in one of the most ancient languages. They brought out richly documented and interesting translations into English, French, German and Russian languages, though at some places they did not grasp the right and correct meaning of certain terms, obviously, and phrases, yet their translations show their devotion and dedication to the Manusmriti and the other ancient Sanskrita works. Okay. The following opinions of some of the learned scholars of different countries show the high esteem and status the Manusmriti occupies among the ancient literary treatises. The historian Mount Stuart Elphinstone in his book History of India 1841 remarks, the first picture of the state of society is afforded by the code of laws which bear the name of Manu. Arthur B. Keith. Okay, this is a bunch of historians who have said good things about the Manusmriti. Okay. Let's see if we can find anybody famous, otherwise we'll skip this portion. Let's see what Nietzsche has said. In Beyond Nihilism and Without Marx, has compared the teachings of Manu and the Bible. He states, how wretched is the New Testament compared to Manu. Oh my God. So Friedrich Nietzsche is saying how wretched is the New Testament compared to Manu. How foul it smells. Close the Bible and open the code of Manu. Damn. The Will to Power, Volume 1, Book 2, page 126. He further states, the law book of Manu is an incomparably greater intellectual work than the Bible. This is important. This is significant. Okay, Louis Renaud. The French professor of Sanskrita, Louis Renaud, in his book A Religion of Ancient India, opines thus, the laws of Manu provide a good illustration of the interlacing of themes in Indian literature. Here we have a legislative text, or at any rate, a book of legal maxims. Let's see if any... Okay, William Jones is there. He obviously will say things. Translations of Manusmriti into foreign languages. We can skip this part. Manu in world literature. Okay, let's check out this part. All the Vedic scriptures acclaim the authority of Manu, who is referred to as Maharishi and also as Rajarishi, the royal sage. Maharishi Jamini, in his Mimamsa Darshana, states, Virodhatvena Prekshayadasati Hyanumanam, that is, whatever commandment of whichever smriti which does not follow the precepts of the Vedas is not an acceptable authority. It is heresy. It is heresy. According to the Tandya Brahmana. According to the Tandya Brahmana, Manurvei Yatkin Chavadata Tadbheshajam Bheshajataya. That is, the commandments of Manu are supreme and the best cure for all ailments. Acharya Brihaspati adds, so you all know who Acharya Brihaspati was, right? He was the grandfather of Acharya Bharadwaj, Rishi Bharadwaj, and he was also, Acharya Brihaspati was also the teacher of Rishi Shandilya. All these are separate gotras now. Shandilya Gotra, Bharadwaj Gotra. All Bengali Brahmins are either Kashyap Gotra or Shandilya Gotra. And this is also important because Chanakya, since the Arthashastra is presented like a scientific paper, a technical paper, so he makes citations continuously. He cites all the senior scholars. He agrees with them somewhere. He disagrees with them somewhere. So he has Chanakya has quoted Rishi Brihaspati multiple times. Okay, let me check out some comments. This is the toughest part, yes. Do it together, remove all... Okay, I did this. Bhaiya, in our Sanskrit, we have tons of synonyms for a single word, but we still go on speaking Persian alternative. Yeah, our language is way superior. Did you all watch today's JSD speech in Mysore, I guess? No, this one, today's one I haven't watched. Sharda Lipi, yeah, Kashmir is probably Sharda Lipi. Damn, that was harsh in Bible. Yes. JSD is right, the Raita wing can't articulate it like what are they doing? Only saffron is our color. Oh my god, that is a huge disaster they are doing. But it's mainly Madhya Pradesh that's doing it, no one else. See, Madhya Pradesh is kind of overcompensating because you all know that whenever we discuss the good things that this government is doing, we are always talking about Assam, UP, northeastern states, and to some extent Bangalore, and definitely Gujarat, but we never talk of Madhya Pradesh, right? So they know that they are kind of lagging behind in everything that the BJP is doing in the rest of the country. So this is their way of overcompensating. See, we are also in Hindu causes. Otherwise, they have not done anything significant in the last 4 or 5 years. That's why they are now making a case out of this. It's literally called Indradhanu, yeah. Wasn't Dronacharya son of Maharshi Bharadwaj? Yeah, but I'm not sure because I haven't read the Mahabharata. I don't know if that Rishi Dronacharya was the Dronacharya from Mahabharata because there are many people with the same names. And I read just 1 or 2 pages from this book when I was scrolling through the pages. I think it comes very soon. They will discuss exactly what are the misconceptions and why those misconceptions about Manusmriti arrived. So wait for that. Okay. Now, Acharya Brihaspati adds, Vedarthopani Baddhatvat Pradhanyam hi Manusmritam Mantrartha Viparitva Tuya Smriti Sana Shakyate Brihaspati Smriti. That is, the Smriti of Manu is indeed the principal one among the Smritis because its commandments are based on the teachings of the Vedas, and whichever Smritis go against the Vedas, they should be rejected. They do not carry any authority. Jabala Rishi also says, Shruti Smriti Virodhe tu Shrutireva Garyashi. That is, if ever there are any statements in the Smritis which do not follow the Vedas, they should be discarded as having no authority at all. The authority of the Vedas prevails. The Nirukta, which is older than the Mahabharata, clearly mentions that Manu is the first formulator of the codes of the first period of human history, the Adi Yuga. Okay, now Avisheshana Putranam Dayo Bhavati Dharmata Mathunanam Visargado Manu Swayambhuvo Bravit. This is from Nirukta, meaning during the beginning period of the creation of human beings, Swayambhuva Manu made the rule that the son and the daughter should get equal shares in the assets of their parents. Did you just hear that? This is from Nirukta 3/4. During the beginning of the period of the creation of human beings, Swayambhuva Manu made the rule that the son and the daughter should get equal shares in the assets of their parents. There should be no difference in the distribution of inherited properties on grounds of sex. All these Arsha sayings point to one main point. That is, all Smritis should follow the Shrutis, the Vedas. The fact that the Manusmriti is based on the teachings of the Vedas, it enjoys the highest honor among the Smritis, and its authority is acknowledged by all the seers of the Vedic age. The Acharyas of the different schools also, like Gautama, Vasishtha, Apastambha, Ashvalayana, Bodhayana, Adi Shankara, etc., claim the authority of the Manusmriti. The Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and the Gita sing the glory of Manu and his Smriti. The Mahabharata quotes many shlokas from the Manusmriti to explain Dharma and Adharma and other legal issues. The Ramayana also quotes Manu. The Puranas too acknowledge the authority of the Manusmriti. The Mahabharata states, Rishayastu Vratapara Samaganya Pura Vibhum Dharmam Paprachurash Sinamadikale Prajapatim. Mahabharata Shanti Parva 36:3. Meaning, in the beginning period of human creation, the rishis who were steadfast in their solemn vows leading a chaste life approached Rajarishi Manu and learnt from him the science of Dharma. In addition to the seers, the acharyas and the gurus of the yesteryears, the social reformers and the Dharma gurus of our age like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Swami Vivekanand, Rabindranath Tagore, Gandhi, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, Dr. Bhagwan Das, Sri Aurobindo, etc. praise and believe in the authority of the Manusmriti. Maharishi Manu contributed greatly in the erecting and consolidating of the superstructure of the Sanatana Vedic period, Sanatana Vedic Dharma. His Smriti is the first Dharma Shastra, which firmly stands on the bedrock of the Vedas. Let's take some comments. Finn, you are right. This is something I was saying to my mother and friends well, that none of his book will be saffron, but reclaiming other colors should be reclaimed. Yes, that's the confusion. I have heard Dronacharya as Bharadwaj Putra. Bro, Ashok Gehlot and Ashok the king are different people. There are many people with same names. Please tell the price, MRP of this book. I think I need to buy this book now. Yeah, this is a beautiful book. What was its price? Not much, obviously. These books don't cost much. I'll tell you, wait. It's written 600 rupees, so every time, almost all the time, there's some discount going on, so you'll get it for about 520, 550, something like that. Damn, equality in pre-modern, pre-industrial times. Hindus were definitely way ahead of time. And not only that, it's written in a book which is most infamous for having discarded or is disrespectful towards women. A book known for that is saying that women, girls and boys should get equal share of their parents' as assets. As said earlier, the first Manu was Swayambhuva Manu. As a token of reverence, one of the longest divisions of time is named after Manu as a sign of respect to him, which is called Manvantara. One Manvantara is made up of 21 Chatur Yugas, that is Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. 6 Manvantaras have already run out since the creation. At present, it is the 28th Chatur Yuga of the Vaivasvat Manvantara which is running on, and of which the present Yuga is the Kali Yuga. The story of Manu is preserved in the important literatures of the ancient civilizations, particularly the myth of the Great Flood, which is related to Vaivasvat Manu, because every civilization, almost every religion in the world has a story about the Great Flood, which is related to Vaivasvat Manu, the progenitor of the human race. The origin of this story of the deluge is in an old Vedic Samskrita scripture called the Shatapatha Brahmana. It is also found in other Vedic texts like the Kathaka Samhita and the Taittiriya Brahmana. The later Puranic literature also repeats the story of the deluge, that is the flood, but with many variations. The story is found in the Bhagavad, Agni, Matsya and the Bhavishya Puranas. It is to be noted that when the Bhavishya Purana was being compiled, Christianity and Islam had already reached the Indian soil during the time of the Bhavishya Purana, which is why in the Bhavishya Purana there is a shloka which says basically that there will come a person with the name Muhammad who will be opposed to Dharma. And so people think that this was predicted long back, but that is not the case. Bhavishya Puran was written when Islam had already arrived. So they were just describing what's going on around them. So we read in this Purana that Manu was the offspring of Adam, etc. Okay, so this is another distortion they are saying that has happened. In the Bhavishya Purana, they added this because Christianity had already arrived, and maybe they were being pressurized to accommodate them. So Hindus, like the accommodative nice people they are, they decided that Manu was the offspring of Adam. Just like Acharya Prabhupada says that Jesus Christ is a reincarnation of Krishna, Lord Krishna. This is indeed an indication of the influence of the Semitic religions at that time. The Vanaparva of the Mahabharata deals with the story of the deluge, the flood, in some more details. Obviously, all the variations and additions are the imaginations of the respective authors. The story of the deluge reached other communities and they now form part of the faiths and beliefs of several nations. The same story is retold in the Bible and the Quran. It should be noted here that the name of the first legislator, Manu or Manu, has changed into Noah in the Semitic versions of the deluge. Okay. Manu, Noah. Okay, no more comments for now. The father of mankind. Vaivasvat Manu is the patriarch of the present human race. In the literatures of many communities, Manu is acknowledged to be the patriarch of mankind. Dr. Surendraji explains, the person who wrote the Hindi version of this translation. He says, the science of linguistics is the gift of the European scholars. In this branch of knowledge, the origin, development and the interrelations of the languages are studied. The study of this science has unearthed several evidences that Manu is the first head of genealogy. This fact greatly supports the views of the Indian literatures. Okay, lots of comments out of the blue. I think it was slowed. Okay, all of them arrived at the same time. Okay, I also need to make one disclaimer. I'm making so less videos these days because actually I'll go into surgery on 23rd December. I'll have my surgery on 24th December, after which I'll be bedridden for about 3 to 6 months. I'll have a surgery on my leg. And that's why I'm finishing a lot of my music production works, which is why I'm not being able to make any videos. And I'm doing live streams in the middle of the night. So I'll maybe make one last live stream before I go to surgery on 23rd. Maybe on 22nd night. The word Manushya comes from Maharishi Manu and the word Admi comes from the word Adam. Yeah. And when I'm bedridden after the operation, that's when I'll do my live streams from the laptop. So there's no problem. Actually, I'll be able to do more frequently or do live streams more frequently then. Afraid of going off the topic, please review the trailer of Malikapuram movie based on Sabrimala pilgrimage. Okay, I did not know. I'll check it out. Comes from the word Adam. Bro, Zakir Naik says Muhammad is the same as in Bhavishya Puran, but I think it's a self-goal because there Mahmud is a pisach. A polemic would be to directly claim it, say yes to what Zakir said. Yeah. Now that you've mentioned the Bhavishya Purana, there is a thing in my head for a long time. In Bhavishya Purana, there's an incident where the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, rapes a woman. Like, what the hell? Yeah, because Bhavishya Purana was a very distorted version, I guess. They were just random people were adding things to it. Which surgery? Why? What happened? You okay now? Yeah, I had an accident 5 years back and I have been having some reconstructive surgeries. Almost every bone in my right leg broke. So some reconstruction was needed. Now another small thing is going to happen. They are going to insert a rod They actually took out some rods, and then my shin bone got twisted a little more. It couldn't bear my weight. So now they are going to insert this once again and not take it out ever again. So for that, I'll have to go in and rest on the bed for a few months. Okay. He adds, that Professor Dr. Surendraji adds, in Sanskrita, Hindi, and other Indian languages, all the terms which are used for man, like manava, manushya, manuja, manusha, etc., are derived from the original word Manu, which means the children of Manu or the descendants of Manu. Just like the people of the Baniya caste, who regard themselves to be the descendants of King Ugrasen, are called Agarwal. Arey, we have an Agarwal here, and who speaks fluent Bengali somehow. How do you do that? Abhay Agarwal, how do you know Bengali? Descendants of King Ugrasen. Abhay Agarwal is a descendant of King Ugrasen and are called Agarwal. Similarly, the descendants of Manu are called Manushya. The science of linguistics proves that most of the Asian and European languages are Aryan languages, and the communities speaking these languages are the descendants of the Aryan stock, and the word used for man in these languages are the derivatives of the word Manu. The Oxford English Dictionary, which comprises 20 volumes, gives the following words for man: English man, German man, menesh, Latin and Greek minos, Spanish mana. Interesting. In the Sindhi, Pharisi and Irani languages, the word is Manu, and Manu later became Nu. It is noticed here that the Sanskrit word Manush has changed into Manu, just as the word Saptaha has changed to Haptaha. Yeah, Hapta Vasuli is Sapta. Assam, Ahom, Sindhu, Hindu, all these S and H's are interchangeable. In the same way, the Sanskrit word Adim, which refers to Brahma, metamorphosed and became popular as Adam. So yeah, Adim is Brahma, and that became Adam. The Bible and the Quran mention about both Adam and Nuh. These two figures are the two important personalities or devas of the Vedic literature, namely Brahma and Manu. He further adds, this professor, that the same is noted in the Indian languages, whether they are South Indian languages or languages of any other region. For example, Kannada, Manushya; Tamil, Manidan; Telugu, Manishi; Malayalam, Manushyam; in Sindhi, Manu; in Punjabi, Manuha; in Assamese, Manu; in Odia, Manisha; in Bengali, Manush; in Gujarati, Manas; in Rajasthani, Manasa; in Marathi, Manisa, and Manushya. There is mention in the literatures of the Cambodian, Egyptian, and the Iranian people that they are the descendants of the Aryas and Manu. The Bible and the Quran narrate that Noah had two sons, Hem and Shem. The children of Hem live in Egypt, and they regard themselves to be the descendants of the 7th Vaivasvat Manu and of the Sun dynasty. Even today, the literature of the Cambodian, Egyptian, and Iranian people mention that they are the descendants of the Aryas and Manu. In his research work India in Greece, 1852, E. Pocock writes, "The reader will not readily forget the renowned city of the sun, Heliopolis or Menes, the first Egyptian king of the race of the sun, the Manu Vaivasvata or patriarch of the solar race, nor his statue, that of the great Menu, whose voice was said to salute the rising sun." So Manu was being worshipped in Greece indirectly. The Sun dynasty, Surya Vansha, of the Aryas started with the king Ishkvaku, who was the son of Vaivasvat Manu, and from the lineage of his daughter Ila originated the Moon dynasty, Chandravansha, or the Arya community, in which were Chandravansha of the Arya community, in which were born the Kauravas, the Pandavas, and the Yadavas, Krishna, etc., King Dasharatha, Rama, etc. of Ayodhya, were the descendants king of King Ishkvaku of the Sun dynasty. Let's see if any more comments are here. Thanks for the clarification. I was disturbed the way things were written in it. Agrasen. Okay, Agrasen, not Ugrasen. Yeah, that makes sense. Bania. Okay, you are also Bania. One more thing. I've seen that sometimes written scriptures don't match the recitation in mathas, like in the in Debroy's MB, Draupadi is not mocked for 5, but in the Smarta's temples, what they recite. Yeah, that might be case. Maharaja Agrasen. Dada, আমি কলকাতার বাসিন্দা, বাঙালি পাড়ায় থাকি. Okay. So you even learned to read and write Bengali. That is amazing. Love from Siliguri. No name. Arey, why no name? There in the love to you also. And how cold is it in Siliguri, bro? Okay. There in the Sampradayic version, she is mocked to have excess lust. That is why she agreed. I think when we get scriptures, we must ask from which Sampradaya, Upasampradaya, and Shakha the book is. Exactly. There are so many versions. You have to listen to Vivek Debray's speeches to understand how many hundreds and hundreds of versions of Mahabharata and authentic, old, ancient versions of different versions of Mahabharata and Ramayana are always floating around, written in ancient periods. And that is why the Bhandarkar Research Institute made the critical edition of Ramayana, critical edition of Mahabharata. They used a system which is basically highest common factor, HCF sums that we used to do. That is the same process done in genetics. They took the most common shlokas and made one master volume out of it, because they decided that if the most number of, if these particular shlokas are appearing in all of them, and then the rest of the shlokas are appearing in some and not appearing in some, then they have discarded those shlokas. They have only taken those shlokas which appear in almost all of those versions, and they have taken and made the critical edition of the Mahabharata and the critical edition of the Ramayana in Sanskrit, which has been translated to English by Vivek Debray, unabridged, and the critical edition. So you can trust that those are the only and most authentic versions. Not that much, 15 degrees. Oh, okay. Yes, my third language was Bengali in school. Nice. My Bengali reading is slow, but I can still read articles. Yeah, that is the same case with my Hindi. The state of Manusmriti today. Now it will get interesting. It is surprising indeed that such a wonderful treatise in one of the oldest language and from such a great seer is caught in the whirlpool of controversies today. Who was Manu and what was the original form of Manusmriti? Different conflicting views are available. It is believed by some that originally the Manusmriti was in the sutra style and later it was rendered into the metrical form. At present, in the available editions of Manusmriti, there are some 2600 to 2700 shlokas in the Anushtubh Chanda, which is that 4/4 timing we say in music production. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. A class of meter consisting of 4 padas of 8 syllables each. That is, the whole shloka consists of 32 syllables, right? It is the opinion of some scholars that sage Bhrigu, the disciple of Maharishi Manu, gave it the present form into the Anushtubh meter. But still, traditionally the primary authorship is ascribed to Maharishi Manu. Moreover, the ancient commentaries which are available in Sanskrita clearly mention Maharishi Manu to be the original author of this Dharma Shastra. Interpolations in the ancient Sanskrita works. Most of the ancient Sanskrita works have undergone changes from time to time. Some verses have been removed and many other new ones have been added. This act has been going on for centuries. The available editions of the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Gita, the Manusmriti, the Puranas, etc. carry many interpolated shlokas made by several persons and at different times. Even new episodes or portions have been added into the historical records and mythological stories. This criminal act of adding new shlokas into the books of the seers were noticed very early and reported too. The Garuda Purana pointed out, Daitya sarve viprakuleshu bhutva kalo yuge bharate shat sahasryam nishkasya kanshchit navanirmitanam niveshanam tatra kurvanti nityam. Brahmakhanda 1:15. That is, in this age of Kali Yuga, changes are being made in the Mahabharata. The Daityas are pretending to be Brahmanas and they are removing the shlokas from the scriptures and they are adding new ones to it. Okay, remember how important this section is, because when we claim that what you are saying was said in Mahabharata might not have actually been said. We have a proof from Garuda Purana itself that they are talking about it, that they are distorting Mahabharata in front of our eyes, and we have the proof. So we can easily argue using this point. Good and important video, ekhon dekhlam. Well, I think Tulsidas said it best. Hari is infinite, so is his stories. Swami Vivekananda also said, God is infinite, God, too. So, say we can learn from one book to understand him is to mock God and nothing more. Absolutely. How long would be today's live stream? Bas ek bhi idea chalega, please. And whatever is your answer, someone please put it here in the chat. I just joined in and I'm starting from the chat. How long will you guys be online? Let's say about 3 a.m., right? Approximately another 1 hour. How one planet can just one book define life of entire humanity? We Hindus have a complete library to discuss dharma. Yeah. From where did you get the Bhavishya Puran? Which publication? Okay. Maharishi Swami Dayanand gives a good account of this state of affairs of the ancient scriptures in his book, the Satyarth Prakash. This is a very important book. He writes, in the reign of Raja Bhoja, some Pandits wrote the Markandeya Purana and the Shiv Purana and gave out that Vyasa was the author thereof. When this was brought to the notice of the king, these Pandits had their hands chopped off by the way of punishment. Further, he issued an order that all works on poetry and other subjects should bear on their title pages the names of the authors and not of sages and seers of yore. Okay. This is written in the historical work Sanjeevani by Raja Bhoja. It is also clearly written therein that Vyasa composed 4,400 verses of the Mahabharata and his pupils added another 5,600. Thus, there were in all 10,000 verses in the original Mahabharata. In the time of Raja Vikramaditya, the number of verses rose to 20,000. Raja Bhoja says that in his father's time, the number came up to 25,000. And at the time of writing the books under notice, when he was a middle-aged man, it had risen to 30,000. If it goes on increasing at the rate, the Mahabharata will in no time become a camel's load. He further says that if books like the Puranas were made in the name of the ancient sages and seers, the people of Aryavarta would be steeped in superstition and thus being deprived of the benefits of the Vedic Dharma would sink deep in degradation. Look at this. Did you hear this sentence? Let's read this once again. He further says that if books like the Puranas were made in the name of the ancient sages and seers, the people of Aryavarta would be steeped in superstition and thus being deprived of the benefits of the Vedic Dharma would sink deep in degradation. So he's saying don't randomly go on making more and more Puranas and adding randomly more and more shloks according to your changing times. Keep them intact. The Manusmriti did not escape the criminal hands of the interpolators. The available editions of the Manusmriti have many interpolated verses, some of which are clearly noticed by the discerning minds. We are getting into the crux of the matter now. Nearly all those scholars who studied and wrote commentaries or translated this book are unanimous that not all the shlokas are original ones. Dr. Urmila Rastogi, in her Manusmriti Bhashya, states that in its original form, Manusmriti had 680 shlokas. Sir William Jones, who translated the Manusmriti into English, also came to the same conclusion that 680 shlokas were the original ones. The Great Wall of China. It is interesting to note that some artifacts discovered in the Great Wall of China throw some light on the Manusmriti. According to history, the Chinese Emperor Qin Shi Huang ordered to destroy all the ancient scriptures to erase all traces of the ancient Chinese culture. A certain gentleman was able to collect some ancient manuscripts which he placed in a sealed box, and he hid the box into the Great Wall of China, while it was being constructed. In 1932, Japan bombed the Great Wall, who were allies with Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Oh, this is before World War I. The sealed box was discovered and the manuscripts were saved. Sir August F. George took them to England, where they were exposed and secured at the British Museum. Professor Anthony Graham had them deciphered and read by Chinese scholars. Surprisingly enough, in one of the manuscripts, it is stated that the Manusmriti had 680 shlokas from something discovered inside the Chinese wall, Great Wall of China. Shandilya is a surname in Delhi. One of my friends has that surname. Yeah. Swapan Shandilya is a famous composer. All Bengali Banerjees are either Kashyap or Shandilya. So all of them are supposedly descendants of the Shandilya Rishi Shandilya. Okay, now there are only about 60 or 70 Gotras, right? So Doesn't mean that all of India came from these 60-70 people. I think, in my personal opinion, whatever limited study I've done of Indian texts, I think people who subscribed or were shishyas in those schools of thought also came to be known as descendants of those Gotras. Swami Virjanand Saraswati, the guru of Maharishi Swami Dayanand Saraswati, noticed the fact that not all Samskrita treatises are the works of the rishis, and that in most of the ancient Arsha texts, the teachers and missionaries of the different Hindu sects or sampradayas have interpolated their own composed verses to suit their views and their needs. Swami Dayanandji Maharaja rightly observes that the state of Manusmriti, the Dharma Shastra today, is like the milk which is sold by the milkman. What I mean to say is that just like the milkman who adds water to the milk which he sells to his customers to get more money, so is the state of the Dharma Shastra. That is, many additions have been made to it by the selfish people. Evidently, the irrelevant shlokas are not the compositions of Manu. This is said in a text called Puna Pravachana. During the religious debate at Kashi in 1869, to a question put to him by Pandit Tarachand Tarkanath Vachashpati, Pandit Tarachand Tarkanath Vachashpati, Swamiji replied that this Swamiji is Swami Virjanand Saraswati, the guru of Maharishi Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Swamiji replied that the Vedic aspect of the Manusmriti is proved from the statement given in the Brahmana text of the Samaveda, where it is stated, Manurvei Yatkinchadavata Tadbheshajam Bheshajataya. That is from Tandya Brahmana, verse 316, 6, 7. Moreover, in the Satyarth Prakash, where Swamiji has given a list of books which should be avoided, according to Swamiji, he has clearly stated that those portions of the Manusmriti which are later interpolations should not be taught to the students. In his Rigvedadi Bhashya Bhumika, he has again stated that the interpolated shlokas in the Manusmriti should be avoided. Chapter 38. He has written this in his books, chapter 38. Swamiji has quoted the views of Maharishi Manu to support his beliefs and teachings in all his books because the Manusmriti is a Vedic Dharma Shastra, a guidebook for all classes of people. Besides the Veda mantras, he has quoted and commented on some 514 shlokas from the Manusmriti. The Satyartha Prakash and the Samskara Vidhi abound with good advice on human values quoted from the Manusmriti. Swamiji even taught portions of the Manusmriti to the Rajput kings who came to study political science with him. He has also included its study in the curriculum of the Gurukulas. Thus, Swamiji is the first Acharya in this world of today who has understood and has given due importance of this Dharma Shastra. Unfortunately, Swamiji left this world too early. He was not able to work on the Manusmriti and purge out of it the interpolated shlokas. The Arya Samaj scholars, inspired by the views of Swami Dayanand, initiated bold steps to purge the Vedic texts composed by the rishis of the interpolated parts and the verses, and to present a clean Vedic literature. Some of the scholars of Arya Samaj worked on the Manusmriti. Pandit Ganga Prasad Upadhyaya, Pandit Satyakam Sahityalankara, and Dr. Surendra Kumar M.A. took bold steps to dissect the interpolated shlokas from the body of the Manusmriti. Their translations and commentaries in Hindi on the Manusmriti, which are available free from the interpolated verses, are indeed outstanding. Let's see if any more comments. Hindu temples are found in China too. Xinjiang is the place, I guess. Yeah, and I've heard many people say that Xinjiang was actually part of Akhand Bharat. China actually ended on north of Xinjiang. There's a so-called Buddhist cave in Xinjiang province. I forgot the name. Inside there is Shiva and Parvati paintings inside the cave, but not drawn in the way Indians look. They were drawn like how Chinese people look. So it implies that people who lived there, Chinese people of today, were actually Hindu, or at least Shiva worshippers. Shiva worshipper means Hindu. The Vishuddhas Manusmriti by Dr. Surendra Kumar, of which this English translation is, which is the latest addition to this series of commentaries in Hindi, free from interpolations, is the result of the hard labor he has put in. Besides the simple and direct commentaries on all the shlokas of the Manusmriti, The learned author has also given plausible and strong arguments why such and such shlokas which he has purged out are interpolated ones. Okay, so he has explained that why I'm taking this line out. The learned author has followed 7 criteria to detect the interpolated shlokas within the original text. Now the 7 criterias. 1. If something goes contrary to the main subject of the text, if it is out of context, if there are contradictory verses, if there are repetitions, if they are contradictory to the original style of expression, this is very important and obvious. If there are contradictions within the interpolated shlokas, and if they are opposed to the teaching of the Vedas, that seems a very sensible thing to do. Very sensible 7 criteria this professor has applied in order to kick out some distortions presented to Manusmriti. Here below, we copy and paste one example of each of these categories from the book The Vishuddha Manusmriti of Dr. Surendraji for the benefit of our readers. We equally recommend this scholarly work to all those who are doing research on Manu and his Smriti, and also to those who are blaming Manu for the prevailing caste system in India and other social injustices. Manu has taught universal human values, social justice, and he has laid down the foundation stone for a real welfare state in his Smriti. Now we'll get into the example. Let me take a sip of my coffee. This book is so fascinating and interesting. I forgot that I have made a cup of coffee. Oh yeah, there is something like that in the Uzbekistan museum that they kept during their USSR days. We'll post a link of it in the comments after our live. Yeah. For once, I thought you would make a Kamal Hassan argument for Xinjiang Shiva worshippers. They were not Hindu. Thank God you didn't do so. Yeah. Remember, I was a Marxist until 2018 and very anti-Hindu guy until 2021 September. So some of those dialogues and concepts remain in my head. So it takes a little bit of extra few seconds to remember the truth. I'm also Agarwal. Okay. Bro, AC during winter. Yeah, I have some dust allergy. So if I don't leave the AC on, I'll be sneezing right now because of all the towels that are covering up my computer. This is for air circulation, and I can't open any doors or windows because mosquitoes will lift me and throw me out of my house. Okay, so the example of a shloka that was contrary to the core subject and which has been kicked out by this professor, Dr. Surendra Kumarji. Each and every chapter of the Manusmriti deals with a specific subject, and the subject is clearly mentioned in the opening shloka and in the closing shloka as well. The shlokas which do not deal with the subject, that is, which are not relevant, are certainly interpolated verses. For example, in chapter 105 to 107, chapter 105 or page 105? How many chapters are there? No, I think they meant a page. It is said that the brahmachari student shall mention his name first and then greet his maternal uncle, father-in-law, the family priest, and his aunt, as these elders are as respectful as the wife of the guru. It is also said that the brahmachari shall daily touch the feet of his sister-in-law, that is, wife of his elder brother, and salute her. The foregoing verses of this chapter deal with the Upanayana samskaras, and then verse 2 of 43 mentions the duties of the brahmachari, and verse 2 of 139 summarizes the subject and says that observing these rules and doing these duties, the brahmachari shall dwell at the house of the guru and study the Vedic lores. Thus, it is evident here that the original verses deal with the duties and rules governing the life of the brahmachari during his stay at the Gurukula. It is also to be noted that the brahmachari, once admitted, stays at the Gurukula from the time of the Upanayana samskara up to the time of the Samavartana samskara. He is also instructed not to dwell in the villages after sunset. Considering these facts, it is evident that the verses quoted above regarding the greeting of the family relations are irrelevant because at the Gurukula, his maternal uncle, father-in-law, the family priest, and his sister-in-law shall not be present at any time. Yeah, that makes sense. Then how can he daily greet them or touch the feet of his sister-in-law? Besides, a brahmachari is a young student. He has no father-in-law. These instructions are certainly not the rules for the students of the brahmacharya ashrama. Hence, the mention of such code of conduct in this chapter is not in line with the subject. They are therefore certainly interpolated verses. And I can't keep the AC for much long because it's cold as well. Okay, let's see if there are many. Rishabh Shetty follows JSD on Twitter. Okay. Why did you change then from anti-Hindu to pro-Hindu? Because of Sanjeev Sanyal. Because of his book Land of Seven Rivers. That completely changed and turned on a switch in my head. See, one thing I need to tell you guys. Leftists and Marxists that you see of today, people who are 25 and under or 30 and under, these Marxists are different from the last generation of Marxists, okay? Because each and everyone in my family is a communist, okay? Both on my father's side and on my mother's side. My father is a party member in CPIM. But they have something different that you won't see in today's communists. All of them are patriots. My father joined CPIM, you know why? Because he wanted to do something for the country. And when he was a young kid in his neighborhood, because he was an immigrant from Bangladesh, a refugee, the closest thing to social work he found was CPIM cadres doing all the work in their refugee neighborhoods. That's why he joined them. If RSS had reached him earlier, before CPM, he would be an RSS and BJP guy today. He wanted to do something for his country. And the way I was raised up, not once have I had any disrespect for the Indian flag or for the national anthem. Every time I have seen a soldier pass by, I felt like slowing my car down or my bike down. These are the values I grew up with. That's not something you'll see in today's commies. And I took my father to watch Kashmir Files. And after watching the film, I came back and asked him that, how did you like the movie? Do you think it was Islamophobic? He said, what's Islamophobic about this? This is a movie about terrorism. Why should a movie on terrorism be about Islamophobia? This seems a stupid question to him. A lifelong communist. He has been in the Communist Party since 1976. So you see, all I needed was a switch from Sanjeev Sanyal. Almost everyone was given the superstructure of the state. Almost everyone was given the superstructure of the state was literally that meaning not in favor of our identity Hindu. So many had a change of heart because if our identity goes, we become slaves. Yeah. Oh, and my grandfather from my mother's side, my maternal grandfather, he was also a hardcore communist until the day he was alive. And he was fluent in Sanskrit. He used to give religious advice to my mom, dharmic advice in Sanskrit, reciting them the way they were supposed to be recited. His father was a Sanskrit professor in a village in Assam when they came as refugees. And these people were communists all their life. How is Sanjeev Sanyal's book? I have read JSD and Vikram Sampath, but not Sanjeev Sanyal yet. Okay, if you have read all those people yet, then maybe you will find Sanjeev Sanyal a little childish. But it's not childish, but it's the entry point because it's very lucid language and it's very interesting, very entertainment-wise written. Vikram Sampath and JSD's books are more academic. Sanjeev Sanyal is a very casual reading thing. India, Bharat, Pakistan can't be read casually. It's not a good book you curl up with on a wintry night. That kind of a book is Sanjeev Sanyal's book, Land of Seven Rivers. It's a short history of how awesome India was forever. Okay, another example of what is out of context and which has been kicked out from this version of the Manusmriti. 1 month of man is equivalent to 1 day and 1 night of the Pitar. 1 month is made up of 2 fortnights. The dark fortnight is 1 day of the Pitaras and it is meant for work. And the bright fortnight is 1 night for the Pitaras and it is meant for sleep. 1 year of man is equivalent to 1 day and night for the Devas. The first 6 months, that is Uttarayana of the year, is 1 day and the other 6 months, Dakshinayana, is 1 night of the Devas. Here the verse 1.66, that is the previous one about the night of the Pitar, is talking about a different issue which has no relation with the previous verse 1.65. And the following verse 1.67, that is the verse about Devas. The previous and the following verses are talking about the days, months and the year of the man and the Devas. It is therefore clear that the author is talking about the day and night of man and the Devas. Hence, the mention of the day and night of the Pitaras in between these two verses is out of context. Thus, this verse is an interpolated one. Note that the editor has given more examples of out of context criteria in the editor's note, which we didn't read. Contradictory verses examples. In the Manusmriti, there are verses which contradict the views expressed in other verses. Okay. Such contradictory verses or beliefs, which are not according to the original beliefs of Maharishi Manu, are certainly not authentic, and therefore such contradicting verses shall be discarded as interpolated. For example, the original views of Manu regarding marriage is that a girl endowed with good qualities and who is of the same varna and who is not within the 6 generations of the mother and not of the same lineage of the father should be accepted for marriage and procreation. In other verses, that this one has been said in verses 3 by 4 and 7 by 7. In verses 3 by 8, 3 by 9, 3 by 10, 3 by 65 and 3 by 60, the verbs used are in the singular form, that is, they point to monogamy. But in the verse 3 by 13, it is mentioned that a Shudra shall have only one wife, a Shudra woman. A Vaishya can have 2 wives, a Vaishya woman and a Shudra woman. A Kshatriya man can have 3 wives, a Kshatriya woman, a Vaishya woman and a Shudra woman. And a Brahmana can have 4 wives, that is, a Brahmana woman, a Kshatriya woman, a Vaishya woman and a Shudra woman. Verse 3:14 says that in any circumstances, the Brahmana and the Kshatriya should not accept a Shudra woman as their wife. Okay, so there are contradicting verses now. One verse is saying that Brahmana can marry anyone from any caste, Kshatriyas can marry any woman of any caste except Brahmanas, and the very next verses, and in verse 3:14, they are saying that under no circumstances the Brahmana and the Kshatriya cannot accept a Shudra woman as their wife. Bearing in mind the original views of Maharishi Manu regarding matrimony, it is clear that verse 3:13, that is, that a Shudra can have only one wife, etc., and that anyone and that Brahmanas can marry anyone, is a later addition to the Manusmriti. The 2 points raised are on non-violence and the prohibition of slaughtering animals and the rights of women in emergency situation. Okay, this is in the editor's note. Okay, will we find these in the editor's note? Let's check once, otherwise we'll have to read those now. Where's the editor's note? Publisher's desk. This is not the editor's note. So the editor's note might be later on, or the editor has made these points. That's what he is saying. Okay. Then maybe Sanjeev Sanyal will be in my list. Yeah, it has to. The thing is, our history needs to be written with us in the center, than going out, not the current one that we are being looked from the outsider's lens. Yes. Sanjeev Sanyal's book, at least Land of Seven Rivers, can easily be made in a school syllabus today. There are not much violent, gory tales about invaders. If you give them 3 years to study the entire book, class 8, 9 and 10, that should be enough to create interest in history for young kids. I come from South Kolkata. So I know how woke the new generation is. Even non-Bengali Marwari youth is going woke, yeah. Sorry, brother, asking a different type of question. Are you denying cause discrimination like JSD by explaining it in different way using the word salad? I'm sorry, but sometimes JSD did that. Love your work. I did not get your question. Which discrimination are you talking about? Are you denying cause discrimination like JSD by explaining it in a different way using word salad? Oh, using word salad. For which argument? Tell me, I'll explain it. No problem. Okay, now interpolations based on repetitions which have been kicked out from this version. There are some cases of repetitions of the same views in the Manusmriti. For example, verse 1/6 mentions that God is fully capable to execute his duties because he is omnipotent, great, the maker of the 5 Mahabhutas. He does not have any physical form, but by the creation of the universe, he thus manifests himself. Verse 1/7 also expresses the same ideas, and it repeats the words avyakta, and the term swambhu is read in saeva swambhudbhavo. Thus, verses repeating of same ideas are obviously later made interpolations. It is also to be noted here that in verse 7/23, the birth of Brahma is described based on Puranic beliefs. Hence, such shlokas are certainly later additions to the Manusmriti. Such interpolated Puranic stories within the text contradict the ideas expressed in verse 14:21. Maharishi Manu has not quoted or borrowed any idea from any other scriptures except the Vedas. The original style of expression. If something is contradictory to the original style of expression. Caste, I think. But I did not give any explanation about caste. That was given in the Manusmriti, the people who have translated this version. I did not use any word salad. A serious study of the Manusmriti reveals that the code of conduct formulated by Maharshi Manu, the ideas expressed by him in the shlokas are serious, well thought, have a sound base, and they are logical and just. That is, there is no favoritism shown to any person or any authority. But here and there are also some verses which do not follow this serious style of the author. Some examples of such interpolated verses are as follows. Now the interesting things. Example A. Verse 1262 states that he who steals wheat gets the birth of a rat. He who steals kansa is born a swan. He who steals water gets the birth of water bird. He who steals honey is born a flea. He who steals milk is born a cow. He who steals juices is born a dog. And he who steals ghee gets the birth of a mongoose. Here in this verse, regarding the different acts of stealing and the results or the respective punishments mentioned, do not have a solid proof of realism. There is no sense in such results falling in respect of the acts committed, as they are not supported by the law of cause and effect. Verse 452 mentions that anyone who urinates facing the fire, the sun, the moon, the water, that is rivers or lakes, the cow and the wind, loses his intellect. Certainly this verse also has no solid base. It is without sense, and therefore it cannot be accepted to be from Manu. It is an interpolation. See how much against all these superstition this translator is. And he has belief that Manu would not have said these things. No, of course there was and could have been discrimination among jatis. There is no utopian reality, yeah. And especially if you are following Bhakti Yoga, a believer, understand it's Kali Yuga, it will happen. And all those distortions, see, one thing you have to understand is where was Hinduism operating? And in the entire place called Akhand Bharat, right? And every place had its own regional variations of Hinduism. So nothing good and nothing bad would be exactly followed in the same exact way all across India. So if we know that about the good parts, why do we assume that only all the worst things were happening all across India equally and everyone was taking part in all women bashing and Shudra bashing? That's not going to happen. If at all there was, which there was obviously, mysteriously all the bad things that we have hard evidence for happened during the British rule and after the medieval period, when the Islamic invasions happened, when they have made distortions to the religion, to the culture, the people's safeties are at stake. That's when all these distortions happen. People are running around scared. But rest assured that it's impossible that from Afghanistan to Cambodia, Vietnam, Southeast Asia, everywhere equally evil casteism was going on. In Bengal, communists have encouraged the woke culture. Yeah. But not the previous generation of communists. The new generation of communists have encouraged the woke culture. The previous generation of communists don't even know what woke is. Saraswati Valley civilization is unknown to Indians along with IVC. Yes. Please give a small explanation of what a Smriti is. Smriti is the written text, I guess, and Shruti is the one that's the oral version. Smriti is more or less like what is to be done. Okay, not talking about Lenin's book. It's suggestive law books. Oh, for your information, the Nanda's empire by Shudra kings, there were extremely Manusmritiwadis. Yeah, of course. See, one mistake we do when we talk about Ambedkar is that Ambedkar talked against Hinduism. Ambedkar spoke so much against caste that people think that he was for the destruction of Hindus. All those books are by the time the year 1935 came. Read what he wrote in 1945, Pakistan or partition of India. Not only has he criticized Pakistan and Islam in his book, but the main component of the book is Hindu safety. I have read more than half of Annihilation of Christ, which is Annihilation of Caste, which everyone thinks is the seminal work on anti-Hinduism. From start to at least the little bit more than the half portion I have read, it's all about Hindu unity. He's saying, why aren't Hindus united like Muslims? And in the end, I read the last line and the last few paragraphs, that's also about Hindu unity. He's saying he's disappointed with Hindus for not being united. And in his 1945 book, he's writing an entire book on how Hindus are under threat from Islam. If he hates Hindus, if he hates Hindus so much, caste, if he hates the caste system so much that he wants Hindus and Hinduism to perish, why would he write an entire book about Hindu safety and not Shudra safety? And if he was, if Buddhists of today think that Ambedkar was getting into Buddhism as a way to resist Hinduism, why wouldn't he write that book about Buddhist safety with Islam? That entire book he has mentioned countless times. Hindus won't be safe with Muslims if partition doesn't happen. He's saying, let partition happen, kick out all Muslims from the country, and then only then Hindus can remain safe. He's saying even in the army, Muslims should not be there. I'm not saying these things, Ambedkar is saying this. And why? So that Hindus can remain safe. Thanks for replying. Anyways, can we say that any book with the name Smriti in it is a mini law book? I don't know. Ambedkar in his book written Musalman भाईचारा निभाते हैं सिर्फ अपने भाई के साथ in 147 page. Yes. Smriti are compositions of verses written with object of regulating social and public life and help institutions. Yeah, nice discussion going on. We should do away with caste discrimination and unite as Hindus. Yeah, Savarkar is saying that, Ambedkar is saying that, BJP is saying that, everyone is saying that. The only people who are not saying that are people who benefit from caste discrimination. British are saying that there is so much casteism. I'll say something controversial. No one has lionized Brahmins more than Ambedkar. Think when the Islamic Arab imperialism and Christian colonization going, Brahmins were bench pressing us, are the gods. Okay, now another example of which is contradictory to the original style of expression. Verse 439 adds that while going out, always keep the earth, the cow, the idols, the brahmana, ghee, honey, crossroads and celebrated trees on your left hand side. This verse does not reflect the views of Manu. Certainly, it is a later addition to the Manusmriti. Okay, now contradictions within the interpolated shlokas. In the Manusmriti, there are some instances where the interpolations have been made one following the other within the interpolated verses. It is to be noted that more interpolations have been made on ambiguous subjects. Certainly, so many contradictions cannot be found in the writings of one person. It is also to be noted that the interpolation have been made by different persons and at different times because of so many different kinds of contradictions. Obviously, in the work of a seer like Maharishi Manu, there cannot be any instances of contradictory verses. Such cases of conflicting views have been accepted as interpolations into the Manusmriti. For example, the verse 3.122 to 3.248 deal with Shraddha. This subject or belief is not that of Manu. Verse 129 states that a Brahmana who has not read the Vedas should not be offered food etc. during a sacred occasion. Deva karma. Can you believe that? Did you hear that line? Damn. I need to underline this line very heavily. Verse 129 states that a Brahmana who has not read the Vedas should not be offered food etc. during a sacred occasion, Deva Karma. Contrary to this commandment, verse 149 says that during Deva Karma, the performer of Shraddha should not consider whether the Brahmana has read the Vedas or not, that is, whether he is qualified or not provided he is born in a Brahmana family. Again, in the whole context of Shraddha, the eating and feeding of meat is mentioned, whereas verse 152 forbids killing of animals and flesh eating. All such instances of conflicting views cannot be the commandments of Maharshi Manu. They are indeed interpolations. This book is going to get interesting. Now, opposing the Vedas. Those are also interpolations. In the Manusmriti, there are also many verses which contradict the universal humane teachings of the Vedas. Maharishi Manu acclaims the Vedas as the supreme authority on Dharma. Therefore, the views expressed in some verses which are in conflict with the Vedas cannot be the compositions of Manu, and certainly they should be treated as interpolations. The Vedas and the Vedic scriptures give equal rights to man and woman to read and study the Vedas. because there were Brahmavadinis who wrote the Vedas. Lopamudra, Gargi, Maitreyi, Medha. Verses 266, 3, 121 and 499 clearly mention that women should read the mantras. The same views are expressed in respect of the Shudras. Shudras should read the mantras. Are you hearing this? The Yajurveda 26 by 2, the Rig Veda 10 by 5 by 3 by 4, the Nirukta Shastra 3 by 8, the Atharva Veda 3 by 24 by 11 by 8 mention that women and Shudra have the right to study the Vedas and even perform the sacred acts, the Yagyas. The learned author and researcher Dr. Surendra Kumar Ji, following the above mentioned 7 criteria, has left no stone unturned to detect and prove with evidences which are the original verses and which among them are the later additions. He has done a Herculean task. He has indeed successfully separated the wheat from the chaff. His serious analysis of the views expressed in each and every verse is appreciable, and his steps are worthy to be followed to purge out of our scriptures the interpolations which have indeed blurred the beauty, the greatness and the glory of the holy texts. We have given only one example of interpolated verses of each category from the book Vishuddha Manusmriti. We recommend to our readers to read the introduction and commentaries given by the author, which are not only interesting and dissipate doubts, but they are also thought-provoking. The facts and arguments mentioned in the introduction speak volumes of the research done by the author on the Manu and his Manusmriti. Now, the translator of this English version writes, "My acquaintance with the Manusmriti. During the late 70s, after my secondary education, I joined the Arya Yuvak Sangh of the Arya Sabha as an active member. My father was an Arya Purohita and a great admirer and staunch follower of Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Though he was a labourer, yet he dedicated most of his leisure time in teaching Hindi to the children of our village. Among his books, there was an old copy of the Manusmriti with Hindi commentaries made by Pandit Satyakam Siddhanta Shastri, M.A. Sahitya Ratna. It was the 3rd edition published in 1960 by the Dehati Pustaka Bhandara, Chavdi Bazar, Delhi 6. As a young adherent to the Arya Samaj, daily I used to read the books of Swamiji. Swamiji quotes the shlokas from Manusmriti on nearly all subjects he discusses in his books." Okay, let me know if you all are interested in hearing the rest of the translator's notes on Manusmriti. Otherwise, we can get to the next chapter, which is the misconceptions relating to Manu and their resolutions. That is the most important part. Let's see some comments. I'll say something. No one has learned. Yeah. Finally, you came on live. Yeah, Pubos, and I actually, if you see the video from beginning, you'll hear the reason I gave for making so less videos and why I'm not coming live as much, and why I'll come live much more frequently from January, I think, or maybe late December. There is no caste in Hindu. There are varnas in the Bhagavad Gita, and there are stages of life. Everyone is born a Shudra, and you're supposed to die as a Brahmana if you have attained that kind of knowledge. Bro, but RSS is doing same DNA. Perhaps they are the foremost DNA research institute on the planet. Mohan is trying to be the new Mohandas. If so, another Godse will come. Yeah, remember Sitaram Goel's quote? Congress will become the Muslim League, and in time BJP will become the Congress. See, the basic fundamental structure and ideology of BJP and RSS was that they didn't have basically disagreements with Congress on fundamental political science principles. They thought that Congress is claiming to be secular, but we can do secularism better. Congress is pretending to be socialist, we can do socialism better. That was their initial days. Now we will have to hijack these movements and conversations and shift the party to more pro-Hindu and pro-free market policies. And free market policies without destroying the environment and the culture. Hindutva is intrinsically anti-caste, yes. Savarkar wanted to annihilate Jati Varna, yes. Even Kushal Mehra is firm believer in this idea, yes. Don't you think Hindutva is Eastern wokeism? I don't know why we hate wokeism. Asking social justice is wokeism or not. How you define wokeism? Sometimes HM extreme odd को हम extreme odd को उठाकर उसे example बोलने लगते हैं. See, wokeism means something very specific. This is like saying that any woman's achievement is a victory of feminism. Feminism means something very specific. It has a Marxist bias, and it's speaking to an Abrahamic colonizer. It's talking about Abrahamic colonizers' problems, it's trying to solve Abrahamic problems. So we can't extrapolate those things in the Indian context. That is the same problem with wokeism. Indian wokeism is about distorting India's history, distorting facts about India's caste system, and extrapolating the black versus white conversation on Brahmin versus Shudra and Brahmin versus Dalit conversations. That's why Hindutva is not wokeism. Hindutva is something different. Hindutva is at best an indigenous societies standing up to defend itself and protecting in its future, which every indigenous society today wants to do, Native Americans want to do, but they can't because they are so few in numbers. Thank you, lucky stars, that we still have the numbers to hope for a day that Hinduism will be fully intact. So Native Americans standing up for their rights is not wokeism. Wokeism is the crap that they do, that the Marxists do today. If the Manusmriti was written in Kali Yuga, then does it mean Manu came after the Kali Yuga started? No, it was not written in Kali Yuga. I don't know when it was written, I forgot. How are you going to annihilate your own family? Yes. There is nothing called Hindutva in politics. I think the better term should be Hindutva Rashtruniti. We need someone to write a political and economical thesis like Das Hindutva. Yes, I wonder what Chandranath Bosu wrote. I'll have to read his book. His book is basically the book that coined the term Hindutva. It's a Bengali book. I think it's called Hindu Jati Itihash, something like that. Chandradas, your first identity must be Hindu and Hindu only, no matter what your Jati, Varna, Gotra, Kula, irrespective is your belief or not. Yeah. Does he actually say what Manu actually said, or is this book about the Manusmriti was maligned very early on? No, he'll get into the actual translations are about from the 3rd chapter. This is all the actual translation of the Manusmriti, but here first he's clarifying some things. What happened to the Manusmriti found in China? Did the British just keep it with them? I don't know. Anurag Chatterjee, Naam. Okay, let's get into misconceptions relating to Manu and their resolutions. Dr. Surendra Kumar, commentator on the Manusmriti with an analytical purge of interpolations. We have 10 more minutes. By then we'll finish this chapter, and then from the next day when I come online, we'll discuss. Okay, this is a long chapter. Damn. Shit. 43 to 68. Yeah, about 25 pages. Yeah, we'll finish this chapter and then go home. Indian politics is bizarre. Nothing can be said about the turn it may take, like a rain-based river having no brinks of its own. It requires just an indefatigable issue which may ensure victory in polls, howsoever destructive consequences may flow out of its use. Just to achieve the target of winning polls, some political parties have dug out Maharshi Manu, who was, as per records of ancient history, born in the earliest period of the creation. An issue dubbed as Manuvad has been coined and created after his beliefs and instructions, Manuvad se Azadi. The word Manuvad has been circulated in the air, but its meaning has not been given, much less has it been explained. The use of this word is as unclear and flexible as is the case with most of the political words. This seems like a quote from a Dr. Thomas Sowell book. Dr. Thomas Sowell talks about socialism and communism exactly this way. But the context in which this word is used makes it clear that a lot of many misconceptions about Manu are in vogue, and they are getting circulated like other hearsays. If we try to interpret the word Manuvad on the basis of the crux of the principles enshrined in the Manusmriti, the correct meaning of this word would be an ideology based on the best values carried in an individual's merit, performance and capability. And then what will stand for an ideology based on lack of merits, presence of misdeeds and incapability will be called anti-Manuvad. The greatest surprise is evoked when we see Manu and Manusmriti being opposed and deprecated by those who, not to speak of their having read the book Manusmriti, but who have not even had a glimpse of the book, obviously. Leave aside the common man, even a man of wide readings like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has been carried away in his opposition to Manu, to such an extent that every word said against the Shudras appears to have been said and written by Manu. Even the statements made against the Shudras by Shankaracharya have been ascribed to Manu and added to his account of and added to his account of anti-Shudraism. Long is the list of the illogical ascriptions to Manu which are found in the write-ups of the ordinary writers. It has been noticed that there are mainly three categories of people who are opposed to Manu and his Manusmriti. The first category is of those who have read Manu through the versions presented by biased critics writing in English, and who are not conversant with the distortions and interpolations carried out in the ancient Indian literature in a phased schedule of time. The other category is of those who have not read thoughtfully and critically both the original and interpolated versions of the Manusmriti. The third category is of those who have made it a point to oppose Manu on account of certain misconceptions, prejudices, and vested interests. In the approaches of all the people opposed to Manu, certain partisan and prejudicial narratives are common. None of them quote those unobjectionable and non-controversible verses which base the Varna system on profession and merit, which speak of the welfare of and goodwill for women and Shudras, and which are regarded as original because of their being contextually connected. They condemn and criticize Manu and his book by quoting the objectionable verses, which are deemed as interpolations. What is the name of this book? I want to get it. This book is called the Manusmriti. Take a look at it and find it on Amazon. Why India is so behind China in every sphere? Because we let our people think and have debates, and we have our faith in social churns. Let the best conversation survive, at least best consensus survive. In China, it's like ek idea aaya, kal se chalu, and that's why they are screwing up so many things. Especially the best example is their population problem. Malthusian model is a goddamn joke today, and they thought, oh, Malthusian model, population is bad. Let's tomorrow implement it, and now they screwed up their entire country. Don't even dream of having a country like China. Most serious question of your life: if someone gives you rice bag, will you become a Christian? No, I have rice. Please extend this stream till 3:30 am. I'll extend it as long as I need to finish this particular chapter. I'm going to finish this. Now I'm along with the live, started from start when it was already 40 minutes in. Nice. Bangla boy naam ki? Who is the Bangla boy? Are you talking about me? Who is the author? Amazon se same name se bhi bahut sare books hai. Yeah. This English translation is by Pandit Satyaprakash Bigu, and that English translation has been translated from a Hindi critical edition done by Dr. Surendra Kumar. Bro, post book link in pinned comments. Yeah, I'll post it. Okay. I should get some commission for this book now. Interpolations. So, they condemn and criticize Manu and his book by quoting the objectionable verses which are deemed as interpolations, but not the verses which actually say good things about Shudras and women. These people do not answer the query as to why we get self-contradictory statements in clear words in the same book and in the same context. Nor do they answer as to why they have picked up and quoted out of the two only the objectionable verses, ignoring the other ones. Man, this is getting some aggressive arguments. If these people had discussed this point, they would have themselves got the answer to their objection. They would not have got the chance of getting angry or getting opposed to Manu, and would have saved themselves from most of the misconceptions. Maharishi Manu, son of Brahma, is the very first person who has taught the world a well-organized, a well-regulated, ethical and ideal way of human life. He is the first among humans, first ideologue, first lawmaker, first lawgiver, first social and political organizer, and the first Rajarshi, that is, royal sage. Manu's words have been called beneficial and efficacious like medicine in the Vedic and Brahmanic literature. Maharshi Valmiki quotes Manu in his Ramayana as an authentic theologian. Manu has been declared in the Mahabharata as the highest theologian and jurist, and the book written by him as a tried and tested scripture. Manu has been glorified in a number of Puranas with the epithets like Rajarshi, a lawgiver, and has been praised as a well-wisher of the entire mankind, besides as a kind-hearted king, because he was Raja Manu, he was a Kshatriya. Manu has been cited as authentic evidence in the Nirukta by Acharya Yaska, while asserting equal rights of inheritance for sons and daughters. Manu has been accepted as the highest religious authority by Acharya Chanakya in his Kautilya Arthashastra. Yes. He has been equally accepted as an authority by Brihaspati, who gets repeatedly cited by Chanakya. Brihaspati, the writer of a Smriti, and also by Ashwaghosh, a Buddhist poet, and by King Dharsen of Vallabhi in the inscriptions of 571 BC. Dara Shikoh, Aurangzeb's brother, the writer's son of King Shah Jahan, has called Manu the first human, the patriarch whom the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims all call Adam. According to Dara Shikoh, Manu is the person whom Jews, Christians, and Muslims called Adam. Guru Govind Singh in his Dasham Granth has liberally praised Manu without any reserve. Maharshi Swami Dayanand Saraswati, the founder of the Arya Samaj, regards the Manusmriti as authentic evidence, second only to the Vedas. Sri Aurobindo has extended to Manu the honor of being regarded as an Ardhadeva, semi-god. Sri Rabindranath Thakur, Dr. Radhakrishnan, Jawaharlal Nehru, and other national leaders have mentioned Manu as the first lawgiver. A number of jurists like Justice D.N. Mulla, N. Raghavacharya, and others have declared Manu's instructions as authoritative evidences in their write-ups relating to Hindu law. It is on the basis of these merits of Manu that Nehru, while presenting the constitution in the Lok Sabha, and then the President of India R. Venkataraman, while installing the statue of Dr. Ambedkar, honored Ambedkar by naming him as the modern Manu. Manu's prestige, grandeur, and greatness have not been less even abroad than in India, as far as their influence and propagation are concerned. Max Muller, MacDonald, A.B. Keith, Peter Thomas, and other Western writers have regarded the Manusmriti as a law book besides as a religious treatise, and they have described its instructions and diktats as universal, inasmuch as they are for the good of all. Sir William Jones, an English judge of the Indian Supreme Court during British rule, learnt Sanskrita and edited the Manusmriti after having read it on discovering this book to be indispensable for delivering judgments on disputes in India. Friedrich Nietzsche, a famous German philosopher, went on to the extent of calling the Manusmriti a better book than the Bible. We come to learn from the ancient history and inscriptions found in Bali Island, Burma, Philippines, Thailand, Champa, South Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and other countries that in these countries the Varna system has been in practice as proposed in the theological treatise of Manu. A number of verses from the Manusmriti have been found inscribed on the inscriptions there. The kings in these countries used to take pride in being called Manu's disciples or the followers of Manu. They felt highly glorified by adding to their names the word Manu. The people of Philippines admit that the contribution of Manu and the Smriti of Southse is main in this respect. So the statues of both of them have been installed at the gates of the legislatures of these two countries. Of Philippines. Philippines and which country? What is this time? The kings and okay, Nepal then maybe. The Indian society regards Manu as its first progenitor, which fact is also reflected in Indian literature. Thus, all humans are the progeny of Manu. It is for this reason that all the words synonymous of Manava, that is human, have their origin in the word Manu, such as Manushya, Manuja, Manava, Manusha, etc. Let's see if there are more comments. Pandit Satyaprakash Bigu, the Manusmriti. Bigu is spelled B-E-E-G-O-O. বাংলা বুকের নাম কি ডক্টর বাসু or something? You mean the Hindutva book, Chandranath Bosu? I don't remember the name of that book. It's an old book before Savarkar. Hindu Jatir Itihash. Yes. Hindu Jatir Itihash. White is equal to Muslim, black is equal to Hindus, English is equal to Urdu, white episteme, Abraham episteme here. By that way, I know it's very simplistic argument. If I see voicism without prejudices, I find very similar movement. White is equal to Muslim, black is equal to Hindus. No, they are not the same for countless other reasons. We'll get into that some other day. How wokeism is different from decoloniality of Hindus. We are behind China because we had Indira Jawahar socialism, while China got Mao's consolidation and Deng's vision. Yes, that too. But let's not credit their dictatorships for their progress. I'm ready to criticize Indira Gandhi and socialism as much as you want. Is the name Satyarth Prakash or Satya Prakash? Satyarth Prakash. Sorry for spelling mistake of wokeism. Which chapter are we reading right now? We haven't actually started any chapter. These are still introductions and basic concepts discussion going on. The Big Bang connection. Okay, more Bengali is nice. For your information, SKM of CPM recently posted something against Ram Rajya. Let me ask, has anyone actually said what it is? What they do is just straw manning and then shadow boxing with it. Yeah. If all things are there, why Ambedkar against manuscript? Because he read the interpolations. He did not know that they were interpolations. And who knows if Ambedkar has even read the unabridged Sanskrit versions or not. Because you have to judge Ambedkar based on what he was facing as a Shudra, not on what he was reading. He was damn pissed off with Brahmins, and let's just leave it at that. There were actually Brahmins going around oppressing Shudras. So why fight that? That's why Dr. Subramaniam Swami always makes sure to remind BJP what their duties are. What do you think? Yeah, but BJP is not going to listen to him. Dr. Subramaniam Swami is actually economy farthest right of anyone in BJP, and that's why BJP hates him. BJP can't follow Dr. Subramaniam Swami's policies right now. Do you think the book has some value in today's times when we already have equal laws? That's what we'll find out. I can't comment on that before reading it, and if not, you can use it as your personal daily lifestyle choices, and if not, it's just you can read it as a scholar of Indian history, which we all must be in our lives. The European scholars have proved it on the basis of the principles of linguistics that there was a time when the inhabitants of Europe, Iran, and Indian subcontinent belonged to the same family. All the words meaning human in the languages of these people are the corrupted forms of the words having their origin in the term Manu. Examples are the word Minos in Greek and Latin, man in German, mana in Spanish, man, manis, manus, manus, manis, etc. in English and its dialects, and nu with the S of manus changing to H and ma getting elided in Iranian Persian. Mentions of these words in the histories of these countries confirm this fact. Iranians even today call themselves Aryas and accept that their origin is from Saptasindhu, the origin of the Arya. The denizens of Cambodia regard themselves as the progeny of Manu. The inhabitants of Thailand consider themselves Suryavanshi in as much as they think that they are the descendants of Rama. Rama and Krishna both belong to the lineage of Manu. Having read these descriptions and discovered these facts, we can safely say that the prestige and importance accorded to Manu as a theologian and as a lawgiver was accorded to no other person. Main misconceptions about Manu and their resolution. The misconceptions related to Manu and Manusmriti can mainly be divided into three categories. Chad, Nehru offended castes from UCs and LC sections by calling Ambedkar modern Manu, and he offends Hindutva folks by just existing. Who? Nehru? Nehru is getting too much credit. Subramanian Swami lets his daughter marry a Muslim, so now we have more of them and less of us. So think of that also. More of that identity is going to be an issue for us. Remember, even Aurangzeb had a Hindu mom. Yeah. Did you see in Bengal leaders like K. Annamalai or Tejasvi Surya? No one remotely. Some people will be good in street politics, some people will be good in debates, and that's the case with almost everyone. It's only few like Himanta Biswa Sarma, Yogi Adityanath, K. Annamalai that there are. So don't think that there are people like K. Annamalai, Yogi Adityanath roaming around the streets in all those states as well. They just have those three people, and none of those three people have come from BJP and RSS. So that's something to think about. Don't credit BJP and RSS for what you see in Modi and Amit Shah. All these three next future people that we think would be great prime ministers, whether it says Jai Shankar or K. Annamalai or Himanta Biswa Sarma or Yogi Adityanath, none of these people are from RSS and BJP. Must chai drinking while reading a book in winter season? Yeah, coffee. Okay, so the main misconceptions and their related to Manu and Manusmriti can mainly be divided into three categories. 1. Manu founded the caste system basing it on one's birth. 2. In that system, these are the misconceptions, okay. The misconception is that Manu founded the caste system basing it on one's birth. In that system, Manu has been inhumanly partisan in providing stringent rules for the Shudras, the downtrodden, whereas he has given privileges to Shudras, to non-Shudras, especially the Brahmanas. Thus, Manu was anti-Shudra. This is also a misconception, because remember, this much even I knew before reading this book, that Manusmriti actually talks of insanely tough regulations for Brahmins. If someone actually follows Manusmriti, no one would want to become a Brahmin. Third misconception, Manu was anti-women. He didn't give women the rights equal to those given to men. Manu deprecated the women folk. Another misconception. Now, it will be more effective and useful to present internal evidence from the Manusmriti than to present the evidences cited from external sources for answering and resolving these three misconceptions. So, some conclusions based on internal evidences are being cited here. Manu is not the pioneer of the caste system. There is no mention of the caste system in the Manusmriti. Instead, it mentions about the Varna system, which is based on merit, performance and capability, which is itself based on Vedic statements. This concept of the Varna system is basically found in the Vedas. Rig Veda 10 by 11 and 12, Yajur Veda 31 by 10 and 11, Atharva Veda 19, 6 and 5 to 6. Manu took this system from the Vedas and practiced it in his state during his regime. He promoted and propagated it through the scripture written by him. It is necessary to understand here that the Varna system and the caste system are opposed to each other, and that they are indeed contradictory systems. This is very important, and people who have read India, that is Bharat by Deepak, will know this, that the caste system that we see today was conjured up by the British and categorized by a Portuguese missionary, from whom the British bought that system and decided that let's apply this to Hindus all over the country. And if you have seen Sahibs who never left India, you know this better. Coffee versus chai. Yes, coffee. I'm afraid for Bengal and Kerala, if folks remain 2 generations ago, Dhaka to Kolkata, after 2 generations, Kolkata to Bhubaneswar or Patna, yeah. Think of the demographics, we don't even make 3 or more, and yeah. I think if this time, if in 2026 Trinamool wins again, Bengal's economy will be irreversibly damaged, and by 2031, if Trinamool remains, there will be a Pakistan flag flying in front of my house. These Christian and secular fascists focus on Manusmriti when most Hindus don't even read Manusmriti. That is also a very good point. Most Hindus haven't even heard or read Manusmriti. Everyone follows the Gita. Most don't even have it in their homes, exactly, which they should. We should be Manusmriti experts, exactly. Vishnu temple of Cambodia is rebuilding by the help of... Oh, okay. So you mean Angkor Wat, right? They are indeed contradictory systems. Varna system and caste system are contradictory systems. One cannot subsist in the presence of the other. Their basic difference can be easily understood if one is able to understand the inherent differences of the two. The main consideration in the Varna system is the Varna of an individual, whereas the caste or the birth in a particular caste is the main consideration in case of the caste system. As long as people lived and did abide to their particular Varna on the basis of their merits, performance and capability, the system was reckoned as the Varna system. But it got converted into the caste system when the people started recognizing Brahmanas, Shudras, etc. by their birth. The word Varna comes from the Sanskrit word Varn, which is a verbal root and which connotes, that is, conveys the idea accepting something. This clearly indicates that when the Varna system came into existence, it was based on an individual's merit, profession and capability, and not on his or her birth. There is strong evidence providing that the Varna system of Maharshi Manu was based on one's work or profession. Manu has made mention of only 4 Varnas and has not talked of any caste or gotra or subcaste in his Smriti. If there had been castes and the Varna had to be determined on the basis of someone's birth during the times of Manu, he would have certainly made mention of those castes and would have also added which were the castes or subcastes of the Brahmanas and which were of the Shudras. On the contrary, Manu considered it contemptuous to assign grandeur to someone on the basis of his or her birth. In verse 3 by 109, so much so that there is no mention of family, caste and subcaste as qualifications for someone to be honored. Instead, he mentions only knowledgeableness and noble deeds. If we shall accept Manu as the founder of Varna system on the basis of one's birth, then the very purpose of writing the Manusmriti gets defeated, because if someone were to be considered a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra on the basis of his or her birth, whether he does or does not do the deeds and actions prescribed for their particular Varna, he would still remain in that Varna. What a great argument! This argument never came to our minds, right? Why would the Manusmriti be written then, if Varna system is supposed to be based on birth? Why write these things that do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that? What, you are once a Brahmana, you are born in that Brahmana family, and now for the rest of your lineage you will be Brahmana. So why do any good deeds? Why write this book? I'm excited now. Because if someone were to be considered a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra on the basis of his or her birth, whether he does or does not do the deeds and actions prescribed for their particular Varna, he would still remain in that Varna. In that case, the provision of actions for him becomes meaningless. There is a basic great difference between the Varna system and the caste system, and it is that one can change one's Varna freely at any time, whereas there is no such possibility in case of the caste system. In the caste system, one's caste remains the same throughout one's life. But in the Varna system of Manu, because caste basically means a permanent thing. The word caste means, like you say cast in stone, cast out of a rock, cast in wood, because it came from the Portuguese word casta. One has the freedom of changing one's Varna. Caste basically in Bengali it means chhach. Like you want to, something has to be taken, has to be made into a shape of something, and you put some let's say wax into a shape of something and it comes out fixed as that shape. That is called casting iron, etc. Cast iron. So that is what caste means literally. One has the freedom of changing one's Varna. So by naming this system caste system, that's when the basic distortion and flaw came in. In this connection, there is an important verse in the Manusmriti, that is 10/65, which dispels all doubts. Shudro brahmanatameti brahmanaschaiti shudratam kshatriyajatamevam tu vidya vaishyatattevacha. This means that a Brahmana becomes a Shudra and a Shudra becomes a Brahmana on the basis of his or her merits, actions and capabilities. The same principle applies to the other Varnas, that is, the Varna of the Kshatriya and the Vaishya also changes. Besides, there are dozens of such verses which provide that a Brahmana becomes a Shudra in case he gives up his prescribed duties and undertakes to do inferior deeds. For this, see Manusmriti 2/37, 40, 103, 168 and verses in 4/245. And there is a provision according to which the Shudras can acquire higher Varna. Refer to Manusmriti 9/335. We'll get into these later, of course. This Varna system based on work and profession remained in practice since the Rig Veda period up to the Mahabharata period. The Bhagavad Gita says in very clear terms, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shishtim Guna Karma Vibhagasha. It means that the four Varnas have been created by me on the basis of merit and profession and not on the basis of birth. There are hundreds of such examples which are available in the ancient Indian history and literature which confirm that the Varna system is based on merit and profession only and not on any other factors. Some examples are 1. Eloshu, who was the son of a slave woman, and Vatsa, who was the son of a Shudra, came to be called a Rishi of the Rig Veda on account of having been the Mantradrishta, the interpreter of the Vedic hymns. 2. King Vishwamitra, who was born in Kshatriya clan, became a Brahma Rishi. 3. Satyakama Jabal, whose lineage is not known, became a Brahmavadi. 4. Matanga, was born in an inferior lineage called Chandalas, came to be called a Rishi. 5. As per some fables and narratives, Valmiki, who was born in a low family, was able to acquire the position of Maharshi. 6. Vidura, who was the son of a slave woman, became the senior most minister of King Dhritarashtra and was called Mahatma, a great soul. 7. On the contrary, only on account of his misdeeds, Ravana, the descendant of Rishi Paulastya and the ruler of Lanka, came to be called a demon. 8. Unnamed Pravriddha, a son of Raghu, the ancestor of Rama, was expelled from the clan of the Kshatriyas due to his ignoble deeds. He became Rakshasa, a demon. King Trishanku attained Chandalhood, a state of wretchedness. Many sons of Vishwamitra came to be dubbed as Shudras, and many of them remained Kshatriyas, who later became Brahmanas. So much interesting things are happening. Let's see some comments again. Do most Hindus even read any of their own scriptures? No. How many actually take initiation? Diksha? No one. What would you say to this argument? Why should we have this book in our home or even in our memory if it has no more value than any historical account or ancient ancestors? The argument should be that how do you even know that it has no more value than any historical account of ancient ancestors? In order to know that whether or not it actually has value or has no value, you have to read it. Before reading, you can't conclude that it has no value. Maybe it actually does not have any value, but how will you know that it has no value? I'm just waiting for next census of India. And what do you think about the caste-based census should need to be implemented or not? It has to be implemented for now. Otherwise, there will be more conversions going on. Because BJP can't reach every alley and every village and tell them, see, we are going to be united Hindus. Some missionary will reach them and tell them, see, tumhara gaya reservation. Now only a rice bag can save you. Do you think we should rebuild Jain and Buddhist temple in India? We only say we are all Hindu but never build this temple in India. Almost no one know about Nagarjuna Jain's Shadbad Nyay Memansa. This is a good point actually. I never thought about it. Yeah, this should be done. You are doing great, bro. Thank you. First worry about the rising Abrahamic population, then we can sort the intra-Hindu Buddhist Jain Sikh identities in India. Yeah, both have to be done simultaneously. I don't understand this casta stuff. It is like saying Portuguese brought water and before that no one was drinking. Casta stuff, have you read the book India That is Bharat? Then you will know the actual details because Jacob de Roover has given more details on this than anyone. And J.S.I. Deepak has quoted him. You can understand it in gist in what was that movie? Sahibs Who Never Left India, and J.S.I. Deepak has explained it in detail in his book. If you read the book, then you will understand. Otherwise, I can answer you in short detail. That is, some distortions may have happened after poverty set in because of medieval Islamic invasions, and then everyone was not having that comfortable, nice life that pre-medieval Hindus were having. So that may have led some distortions and corruptions to take place, and decided that no, I am Brahmin and I want my son to be Brahmin. But remember, in those days, Brahmins were supposed to be living on alms, bhiksha. So I don't know why would a Brahmin want their son to be Brahmin, but maybe a Kshatriya would want their sons to also be Kshatriyas, and that always happens even to this day. A lot of musicians' children are musicians, etc. Those things like that. There is some value in a family lineage-based wisdom, of course. But we don't know for sure exactly when that exact distortion began and when they started implementing laws to follow this, or nothing will happen. The evidences for law-based following, and that if you don't follow this birth-based caste system, you are dead. Those sorts of things are evidenced as a hard law, solid law all across India, only after the British enforced it, not before that. Before that, it's random murmurings here and there, and not obviously accepted equally all around the Akhand Bharat area. So that's the thing going on, that with casta being the sole responsible problem here. You are doing great job, brother. Please do everything everyday live. Love from Siliguri. Thank you. I'll try to do after my operation. For a word to exist, you need the concept to exist also. So what is caste, lineage, jati, varna, kul or gotra? Sab khichdi. As he just explained, what varna is supposed to be stages of life, and then your profession. If someday, today, the British come and they want to destroy Indian society, and they say that, okay, if you are a sweeper, all your children have to be sweepers in future. If you are a musician, your son has to be a musician. If you are a professor, your son and daughter has to be professors. That's when the distortion and problems will come about. In addition to these individual examples, we have in history the instances of change of varna of a full class, or of a sufficient large part of a varna changing its varna. We come to learn from some shlokas having their alternative versions in the Mahabharata and Manusmriti in 10/43 and 44 that lowly placed groups and communities were earlier Kshatriyas. but they gave up their duties expected of the Kshatriya class, and they did not undertake atonement as advised by the Brahmanas. As a result, they were listed in the clan of Shudras. Such communities were the Pondrikas, Odras, Dravidas, Yavanas, Shakas, Paradas, Praharas, Chinas, Kiratas, Daradasa, and the Khashas. Besides these communities, there is mention of some others also in the Mahabharata 35 by 7 and 18. They were the Mekalas, Khatas, Kanyashiras, Shondikas, Darvas, Chauras, Shabaras, Barbaras, etc. We also get examples in history of change of Varnas even during later periods. Let's check this once again. Okay. They were from Kshatriya class, but they did not undertake atonement as advised by the Brahmanas. Therefore, they came to be listed as Shudras. According to J. Wilson and H.L. Rose, Pokharana or Pushkarana Brahmanas in Rajputana, Sindh and Gujarat, and Mahawar Rajputas of Amapara of the Unnao district in Uttar Pradesh changed their Varna and got elevated to higher caste from lower caste. This is from Vide Hindu Vishwakosha, Part 4. The common names of subcastes found among the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and the downtrodden classes also indicate and prove the above fact that they all are descendants of originally the same clans. In the course of time, their caste became established and accepted on the basis of their birth and occupation. In Castes of Mind by Nicholas Dirks, a good book. I'm planning to read it. Yeah, that is the book that even people in sociology classrooms are recommended to read, but they read only 2 to 3 chapters and then throw away the book. That is supposed to be a good book. Operation What Happened, Brother. I had a bike accident 5 years back. Yavanas, you mean Greeks were Kshatriyas? That is what they are saying. They were accepted and included, I guess. Yavandeep. They were our people, I knew it. Yavanas even have 2 mentions in Valmiki Ramayana. Yeah. And let me give you one example from Brahma Puran. Yeah, I'll do live stream after operation from my laptop on my bed. Check out this example, okay. Wait. This is about also the Varna system being fluid. I have marked this place. Wait a bit. Yeah. Caste system fluid and by choice. Okay. Listen to this part. You guys can hear me, right? Hello. That of Kshatravriddha comes next. Kshatravriddha's son was the immensely illustrious Sunohatra. Sunohatra had 3 sons who were extremely devoted to Dharma. 2 of them were Kashya and Shalla, and the third was Gritsamada. Gritsamada's son was Shunaka, and the Shaunakas were Shaunakas. Shaunakas were the people who descended from Shunaka. So these Shaunakas were Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. Descendants from one person. That's a direct quote from Rishi Lomaharshana. That is not some example being given by Vivek Debroy. That's a direct quote from a source, from a sentence from a primary source. Bro, one word of advice: buy scriptures from approved publisher like Gita Press and Chaukhamba. I think you are reading Debroy's, right? Yeah. Gita Press doesn't have any English translations of this. They have many compilations and small versions, gist versions. I intend to read their Bengali Purans, which they have available. Only 2 or 3 Purans. I think 2 Purans are available in Bengali. For English, I'm reading Vivek Debroy. So that means Greeks were Vedic people. So they were just our cousins. Man, I'm going mad right now. They were basically just like Rajputs at one point in time. Yeah, at least if not, they did not live here, but at least they were accepted in this world, in this Vishwa, I guess. There were different dweeps. We were in Jambu Dweep, they were in Javan Dweep. But we had some opinions on them, and they were considered Kshatriyas. The common names of subcastes found among... this part we read. These are evidences that Varna has never been associated with the birth or lineage of anybody. Even Brahmins are also stopped reading about our important text. Yes, even nowadays Brahmins are more secular than others. Yes, because they were the first ones whose minds were brainwashed. The Varna system described in the Manusmriti has merits, performance of assigned duties and capability as its basic mainstay. Maharshi Manu does not assign much value and significance to an individual for his Varna, but only to the said virtues or factors. Where these are in abundance, that is the said virtues, the value of the concerned person or Varna goes up, and where there is a dearth of these qualities, their value decreases. No civilized system in the world has been able to negate these basic values, nor will anyone be able to do so. Yeah. Did you all hear the interview of Rajiv Malhotra with Gad Saad? Gad Saad was saying that, yeah, even we have a caste system in Judaism. Even the communist system, which claims equality for all, has not been able to ignore these values. In that system, the position and social status are accorded on the basis of merit, performance and capability. Difference in wages, facilities and prestige depends on these merits. If we compare Manu's system with today's administrative and occupational system, we will easily understand the former system, in as much as these two are basically identical. Yes, of course. There's no way Anushka Sharma is going to marry me. There are 4 classes in the administrative system of the government, vis-a-vis 1, first class gazetted officers, 2, second class gazetted officers, third and fourth class employees. Among them, the first 2 are officers and the other 2 are employees. This division is based on merit, performance and capability, and their importance, prestige and rights are determined accordingly. Earlier also, the required qualifications were attested by the educational institutions, that is, the gurukulas, the ashramas, etc., through their heads, such as the acharyas. Even today, the attestation is carried out by the educational institutions, that is, schools, colleges and universities. And the absence... See, how did the caste system get distorted and rigid? You can see very well how today's hierarchies are getting distorted. If we take into account, there was a point of time when Brahmins were going around oppressing anyone. See today how academics behave. They are the Brahmins of today. Look at how they treat other people. And look at how much respect they have for the common masses. We are Shudras in their eyes, right? They are the ones doing all the harm to India today. That is how that arrogance seeps in and the distortions come in. Karl Marx calls India a great and interesting country and also says that ancient Greeks were Brahmins and ancient Germans were Jat. Karl Marx also says that great side effect of British rule was that they screwed up the Asiatic system. That's how much Karl Marx hated the Asiatic system. There's a great paper by Professor Bula Bhadro. It's an entire critique of Karl Marx. It's called Karl Marx and the Critique of His Asiatic Modes of Production. RV does mention several Jatis living and getting kicked out to Digvijays and possible they went and mixed in with natives living there. Look, you'll see Gandaberunda and all US as a country flag, right? Okay, I don't know about these things. I tried to find the ebook of this book but couldn't find it. If someone finds it, please let us know, since probably we won't complete the whole book on YouTube. I'm open to completing the whole book, because I hope no one's going to hit me a copyright for this book. In this text by Yavanas, they do not mean Greeks living in Greece, but the ones who settled in the northwest of India. Yeah, after Alexander's death, also called Indo-Greeks or Bactrian Greeks. That might not be the case if since Manusmriti is supposed to have been written way before that. I don't know. See, Alexander's death happens when? About 500-600 BC, right? I can't remember the exact years. But they had trade relations with them even before that. So it's no surprise that they knew of them. And the absence of such attestations or certifications to that effect indicates that the individual is either uneducated or undereducated, like I am. I am a college dropout. He or she is to be placed in the category of such lower ranking employees who carry out physical labor-based service. In the earlier times also, one who was not able to acquire education would carry out this type of service, and he was named Shudra. The word Shudra means a person having a low social position and carrying out orders of his seniors. We can indeed see how much similarity there is in the connotation of words like servant, orderly, attendant, low-class employee, manual workers, etc. Shale, that actually makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't make sense actually since this is Manusmriti and was probably written way before that, yeah. The Shudras are neither untouchables nor non-savarnas. If we look attentively at the internal evidences to be found in the Manusmriti, we get to know some very significant and basic facts which indicate that for Manu, Shudras are neither untouchables nor non-savarnas. Manu's feelings relating to Shudras are full of humanism. Manu has never called those groups Shudras which today are categorized as downtrodden, backward and tribal communities. The definition of Shudra community as given by Manu is not applicable to today's downtrodden and backward castes. Manu defines Shudra as one who does not acquire the second birth in the form of Brahma Janma or Vidya Janma, which is acquired through education. So Manu is criticizing a person who did not take an interest in education. The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas acquire a second birth by receiving education, and they are called Dvija or Dvijati, which means born a second time or a twice born. Twice born meaning I was uneducated for half my life and then I got educated and I was born again. All this means that a child who goes to his teacher or preceptors at the prescribed age and carries out the study of the Vedas or of the other branches of knowledge relating to his own Varna acquires Vidya Janma, which is in fact his or her second birth. In the religious scriptures, it is called Brahma Janma, one who either knowingly or because of being dull-witted or due to any incapacity is not able to acquire the education or the expertise in the field meant for the three higher Varnas, and thus remains uneducated, is called Ekajati, that is born only once, Ekajati. He is therefore called Shudra. A Shudra is not a Dvija, he is an Ekajati, as evidenced in Manu 2 1 by 126, 169, 170, 172, 10 by 4. One or two more evidences in this connection deserve our attention. Let's see if there's a more comment. Okay, you guys discuss. Bro, you missed a few of my comments. Did I? Wait. RV does mention Jati's one word of advice, publisher Gita Press. I read these comments. For a word to exist, first worry about the rising. Are you talking about these, the ones I'm talking about now? These I answered, right? Or just copy paste and type them again. I'll check them out. Recently, a history channel made an animated video about links between Indians and Greek, and that was eye-opening. They allowed making some temples there and were pretty interested in our texts. Okay. Remember all that Greek civilization, Roman civilization we hear of? The total number of surviving texts that they have is about 30,000 to 40,000. The total number of sacred ancient Sanskrit ancient Indian texts that survive to this date are 30 lakh to 40 lakh. So imagine the amount of knowledge production we were doing, and 30 lakh to 40 lakh surviving even after the destruction of universities like Vikramshila, Ujjain, Takshashila, Nalanda. All those universities were burned down with all these texts. Even then, so many survived. So one or two more evidences in this connection. Brahmana Kshatriyo Vaishyastrayo Varna Dvijataya Chaturth Ekajatistu Shudro Nastitu Panchama, Manu 10.4, which means that the people belonging to the three Varnas, that is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya Varnas, are called Dvijati, that is twice born, inasmuch as they acquire a second birth called, that is twice born, born inasmuch as they acquire a second birth called Vidya Janma. Those people belonging to the fourth Varna are called Ekjati, inasmuch as they get only one birth from their parents and not the second birth called Vidya Janma. There is no other Varna besides these four. The aforementioned shloka makes it very clear that Maharshi Manu regards all these four Varnas as Savarnas. Any other Varna besides these four inclusively is Avarna. But the subsequent societies started calling Shudras as Asavarnas. Manu considers those carrying out craftsmanship, artistry, etc. to belong to the Vaishya Varna, as evidenced in 364, 929, 1019, 1099 and 120. Thus, we'll get into all these evidences directly later. The subsequent societies push them into the category of Shudras. On the other hand, Manu regards agriculture and animal husbandry as the work of the Vaishyas. See, artistry, craftsmanship, according to Manu, is Vaishyavarna. Animal husbandry is the work of Vaishyas. In spite of the fact that the Brahmanas who have been carrying out work in the field of agriculture and animal husbandry have not been declared to be belonging to Vaishyavarna. How can this social factor be regarded as the Manu system? Many verses make it known to us that Manu had a humanitarian attitude towards the Shudras. He did not regard them as untouchable, condemnable, or hate-worthy. Manu has used for Shudras such adjectives as Uttama, Utkrishta, Suchi, etc., which means best, fine, and honest. A person for whom such epithets have been used can never be called untouchable or hate-worthy. Refer to the verse 9:335. Moreover, Shudras have been instructed to carry out cooking and other services involving labor at the houses of Dvijatis. Manusmriti 191, 9:334, 335. If ever a Shudra visits the house of a Dvija as a guest, the latter has been ordered to provide him food. Besides, the Dvijas have been instructed to provide food first to their servants, who are Shudras, before they themselves took their food. What is going on here? Shudras have been instructed to carry out cooking and other services involving labor at the houses of the Dvijatis. So where is the untouchability coming from? Are the servants given food before the masters in the presence of Varnaless society? Are they cared for as much as in the Varna system or of Manu system? How humanitarian, respectful, and kind outlook Manu had? According to the Vedic Varna system, the mouth, the arms, the thighs, and the legs of a man have symbolically been compared respectively with Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. This description leads us to arrive at three conclusions. The first is that all the four Varnas are equal and they are all children of God. The second is that when all are equal, then none of them is untouchable or hate-worthy. The third is that the legs, being a part of the same body, cannot be untouchable or inferior. In the presence of such verses in the Vedic texts, can an impartial person say that Manu used to regard the Shudras as untouchable or hate-worthy? Manu has indeed given special concession to the Shudras as far as their self-respect is concerned. As per Manu's system of according respect, there is a statement which suggests greater respect to the first three Varnas on account of their possessing more merits, and among them the knowledgeable and the learned have been given greater respect. But showing greater goodwill towards the Shudras, he has ordained that an elderly Shudra should be given greater honor by the members of the Dvija Varnas. This kind of respect has not been shown to any member of the first three Varnas. Manar Shudro api dasamim gata. That is, an elderly Shudra must be shown respect by all the members of the Dvija Varnas. A person belonging to any of the first three Varnas deserves respect in priority on account of being more meritorious. Furthermore, Manu says, Na dhamat pratishedhanam, which means that the Shudras are not prohibited from carrying out any religious ceremony. By saying this, Manu has given to Shudras the freedom of observing religious rituals and ceremonies. Moreover, Manu says that one should acquire and accept higher virtues even from a Shudra. The Vedas too give the Shudra the right to perform sacred acts like yagyas, etc. The Vedas and the Vedic texts clearly mention that the Shudras have the right to read the Vedas and other religious scriptures, Yajurveda 26/2, Rigveda 10 and 53/4, Nirukta 3/8. These are the proofs, citations. Manu solemnly states that his Manusmriti is in accordance with the Vedas, thus his views are the same as expressed in the Vedas. It is for this reason that in the context of carrying out the Upanayana Samskara, nowhere have the Shudras been denied the right to wear the Upavita, that is sacred thread. However, one becomes a Shudra when one does not pass through the process of Upanayana Samskara. Similarly, it is against the instructions of Manu to force some Shudra to work as a slave or to deny a Shudra his wages. Manu has ordered the kings to fix the wages for the servants and attendants according to their work and responsibility. It has also been ensured that their wages should not be deducted for uncalled reasons. Let's see some comments. 6 people are viewing now. No, about Gandharbandha, it's a two-headed eagle, it's a tantric form of Vishnu. Okay. I have never heard of this. Two-headed eagle is a tantric form of Vishnu. Yeah. Okay. I knew about the eagle form of Vishnu. I did not know this name. I thought we have 9 million non-translated texts. 9 million non-translated, but 30 to 40 million are total. So some are translated. At least Amish Tripathi was saying that in front of Vivek Debroy. I think the dates support my theory that Yavanas were Indo-Greeks. As far as I know, Manusmriti would have been written around 200 BC, which is around the same time Indo-Greeks ruled in the northwest. But before that, Manusmriti was just a Shruti. It was in oral tradition. It was jotted down maybe in 200 BC. And that way we can't be 100% sure. I hope you are sure. But it was jotted down in 200 BC, but before that it was oral tradition. Oh, one more thing. If I treat you as untouchable, then I myself become untouchable to you. It is not a master-slave relationship. Yeah, that too. Brahmana category includes many. Pandit, Acharya, Pujari, Swami, Guru, Rishis, etc. We must understand first before using certain terms. Yes. Found the video that discusses Indians and Greeks in each other's country. Greeks and Romans, okay. Manu's system of punishment. Not much left anymore. Oh, a lot left. So what say, guys? Let's do it next day. Maybe sometime in this week we'll get into it. We'll start with Manu's system of punishment, and then we'll head on towards the rest of the chapters. How many of you will stay on now, or we can do up till 4 a.m. Let me know in the comments. Then I'll go on. I'll have to turn off the slow version from next day. No, once you become a Swami, Guru, etc., you can't call yourself by that law. That is why Swami Vivekananda is not called Kayastha. Okay. Let me know if I should go on, because I've ended a sub chapter right now. कोई रहेगा 4 बजे तक? Saturday night मनुस्मृति पढ़ रहा है बैठ के. What nerds, Hindutva nerds. Okay, 7 people are still watching. Let's go until 4 a.m. Hello. Yeah, it's all working. Maybe we'll finish this. End it. Okay. Yeah, then I'll start from maybe sometime in this week before going into my surgery on 23rd. I'll do another session and finish this part. Then after that, I'll get into the actual translation of Manusmriti after my surgery. So thank you, guys. This was very fun, very much fun, and very interesting. This was great. We discovered and learned a lot of new things. So I'll see you sometime this week. I'll let you guys know, and put up a post hopefully with all my schedule in place. And after I've finished all my music production works, then we'll do it. Thank you guys for watching.